Today is the second day of the week where Syl is going to hopefully Syl is going to explore the story more because yesterday was
Just
yes, we all are. But
Oh,
yesterday was the intent also, but then we digress. It was planned digression that we decided that we are
yes,
going to talk about love, capital L love. Uh,
yes,
and
yes.
then uh, and
We
then
had a
we
wonderful
were
discussion on it.
oh yes, and then we start discussing, and there was different perspectives on that. My perspective was
Yeah.
completely different, and Sher's was different, and Syl's was different.
Mm,
Quite predictable from Syl's side, his perspective on love. For me, not for everyone, of course. He's not predictable at all. But for me,
oh,
it was like I was kind of like aware that this is mostly more or less this is going to be. Uh, Maybe I don't know about others, but that was the discussion actually evolved many times. It transformed many times, and
mm,
I could feel that energy, what was happening there.
mm.
It was like the stress of not being very clear, as clear as we really want to be in the communication.
And
Uh,
stress of low energy too.
yes, but could be any reason. But there
Yeah.
was a stress from every side that we were understanding that we are not as clear as we really want to be. We were
Yes,
clear. It's
yes,
not like
yes.
that we can be more clear. We all were
Mm.
clear about, but it was there was a stress, and in that time it was like the energy was building up, building up, building up, and just before it could blow up, and then we say, okay, no, we are going to deliberately release it, and then okay, we did, but then again something happened because the topic was so potent and interesting because
Ah, that's
it
great.
is very interesting. And unfortunately, uh, most of our understanding coming from the outside about love is overly romanticized, uh,
Mm.
overly exaggerated. I don't know. I'm redundant using redundant
Well,
terms
and
here.
overly defined also.
Yes, and poorly defined. We cannot
And
differentiate
overly
between,
defined.
yes, we cannot differentiate between romance and love. We cannot differentiate between respect and love. We hardly can differentiate between trust and love. They all are part of love, but
Yeah,
not necessarily
yeah,
the whole love.
yeah.
It
And
can be
also,
part of
love
love.
has conditions to it.
Sorry, so you were breaking for me.
Mhm. Keep
Okay,
going.
okay. So and these ideas gets bit confusing for us because and also the the most certain I can say something about love is extremely overly used term.
Yeah,
When we like something, we say, "Oh, I love it."
yeah,
When we respect something, we say, "Oh, I love it." And when
yeah,
we trust something, we say, "I love it." When we
yeah.
feel infatuated, like we are actually like getting a bit careless when we say love, like, oh, yes, oh, it's love. It gives a wrong impression. There is nothing wrong in using it, but it gives, by implication, it gives a wrong idea of what love actually is. Of course, the person or the thing, of course, might feel very good about it. We feel good about it, but it gives, by implication, it gives a wrong understanding of love. So that was the yesterday's discussion, which was very potent because it provides me an opportunity to practice adamance, capital A adamance. It
Yes.
provides me opportunity again to do the capital D diplomacy, which
And mood
is
management. Mm.
it provides me an opportunity to understand and practice that yes, we can have a difference of opinion, and it is still we can have a good relation, good interaction, good communication. We can have difference of opinion, difference of perspectives. We can agree or disagree with something completely entirely, But it doesn't mean that the interaction, the friendship, the relationship is going to be affected by that, because it is just one interaction out of
Exactly.
out of thousands of interaction we have,
Exactly.
countless interaction we have. So the just one part never ever be influential enough to actually muddy everything for us. And this is
No.
how I live my life. This is I never actually do that. Like, okay, even if, like, just suppose, just for example, uh, I have an argument with my friend about about something like, okay, some program or some project. Other than that particular specific discussion about that project, my whole interaction with my friend always remain same, not even a slightest hint, because I don't feel that it's not something that, okay, I do that. Maybe in the beginning I might be doing that deliberately. I'm not sure about it, because for me it is always like that. So but never ever affect anything. I don't feel grumpy, I don't feel irritated other than that topic. I
No.
might be grumpy and irritated on that topic. And whenever we will come back, and until we will not have a resolution, I might get into that mood again, because that is something, it is not resolved. But this is very clear in my mind that my interaction with anyone or anything is more than just one interaction.
Yeah.
I always,
Oh yeah.
always in the forefront of my
Oh yeah.
consciousness.
Oh yeah.
And that was the thing I always get puzzled when I see couples, or mostly in on media and of course some other sources, that one argument and everything collapse. And then they get apart. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Friends,
Yeah.
family, siblings,
Preposterous.
spouse, like, how this can be happen? Like, okay, it shows that
Yeah.
the very foundation of the relationship was not right.
Exactly. I mean, do you love the point or the person?
Exactly.
I love
That
the
is,
person, not the point.
that's why I always say that for me, the humans are the most important thing. Always, in any situation, I will always choose human
Yes. Yes. Yes.
on priority, of course.
Yes. Very
Uh,
important, Beena.
So this was the whole opportunity we had yesterday to practice all these things. Again, we will
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
to this discussion again,
Right.
and we will discuss it again. But right now, it's all good. I feel that, okay, it was more valuable than usual.
Yeah.
We all learned that, okay, how to communicate better,
Yeah.
how to give
Yeah.
each other more
Well, we had
space.
opportunity to practice. We already knew this and we were
Yeah.
aware of all these factors. And so it gave us chance to
Yes.
practice. And look at Sher's post too. She
Yes.
actually posted the day before, a few hours before that,
Yes.
about exactly what we then got to practice. So we got to
Yes.
practice what she posted about. And also
Yes.
there was a comment somewhere in group relating to the lies, and somebody said, oh, they not coming because of the energies. And I'm like, what energies?
Oh.
And I was really puzzled, like, what possible energies could you be talking about? Well, it was Christine's comment that she came when I mentioned Obama and Reagan, and she assumed we were talking politics when we weren't. Nothing to do with politics at all, and I even said so at the time. So I think that's what she was referring to, energies, but it's just assumption on her part that they're energies when they weren't. And I was really puzzled at this. It was on my mind, and of course we have to be careful what we really pay attention to, because it can
Assumptions,
bring it into
assumptions,
our lives.
assumptions,
Right, right,
assumptions. Yes.
right, right. Look who's joined us. Look who's joined us. Look who's joined us.
Norma, Norma here. Yes.
Yes, magical Norma, magical Norma. Hello, wonderful Norma.
Okay,
Hello,
I'm going to
wonderful
listen
Norma.
now, so I'll be quiet, and then I'm going to listen now.
Oh, you're gonna read. Never mind, listen.
No, I'm going to eat first.
All right. All right, you get a pass. You get a pass. Since I just ate there real quick, A couple of rusks dunked in coffee. And dunking is a thing. Just for those who say, "Oh, dunking, no, you can't be dunking that." No, it's a thing. It's very potent. It's very wonderful. It's very marvelous. I grew up with dunking. Oh, oh, Beena, 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 Beena. Oh, oh.
Yes. What?
Suspenseful pause.
Okay.
Dum 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 dum. Ta-da. Dum dum. Suspenseful pause, magic coming, magic. I can't make magical coming music, exciting music, but anyway, there we go. See, Beena? Too wonderful. I am so thrilled you, yes, sir. I was really thinking, man, we did good yesterday. We did good yesterday. We did good. That's all I could think. I said, man, I'm really proud of us. I really am. It was just a difficult day, and these days have come. Beena and I have experienced them before, and we really paid attention. I said, what is it on these days that make it? I don't know. Sunspots, who knows? I really don't know. But just days that seem they're not only drain your energy, but they just, I don't know. Stuff is just difficult on days like that, particularly in a interactive way. And we got through it. We got through it really well. We stuck to our guns. We maintained our mood management. We held fast. We respected and all this. That was fantastic, right, Sher?
Yeah.
Are you proud of
Yes.
yourself? I hope so.
Yeah, I guess.
I am. All of us. I think we did really well. Truly, that's what I was saying in the middle of the night. I woke up and I messaged you. I think, right? It was on my mind. I was saying, man, it just was what we did. You might not, depending on the perspective shifting, right? It was, well, it was a little bit stressful. It was difficult, but when you think of it, is that we didn't let it get the best of us. That, right? The weirdness of the day. And we held fast and we held tight. And here you are. And Beena was just saying, what were you just saying? I know Beena's about to eat, Beena, but sorry. You have to say it again about the point about disagreements. And
Hello, Sher. Okay, I was just saying that yesterday was a very potent day for us. Because
yes,
we practice a lot of things. I practice capital A elements. I practiced capital D diplomacy there because the energy was building up, and then we deliberately diffuse it, and then it builds up again, and then we try to diffuse it again.
we worked hard. We worked hard.
Also, the
Yeah.
realization we can have arguments, we can have disagreements, we can have difference of opinions, not so pleasant discussion, but still, what is important for me always?
Yeah.
I always, okay, in any situation, human. So
Yes.
we have things we can discuss, we can leave it. I can be grumpy about this
Yes.
topic for years until it gets resolved. But it is not going to make me grumpy about any other thing. Like just for example, I was saying to Syl that we can just assume that okay, we have more than 1,000 interaction, and just one interaction was not so pleasant. Am I wise to forget the other 999 just for the one? No. And that was the part really puzzling for me because I saw that through media and from other sources that one argument and the whole relationship collapsed between parents and children, between siblings, friends, spouse. Like this was the real thing for you. It means that the choice that you were made at the start of the relationship was not right, was not appropriate, because nothing can collapse like that. Just one interaction, okay? And then this topic of love is a very complex. For me, Syl's perspective was quite predictable. Like, okay, yes, this is going to be from
Not
Syl's
sure
side.
I like that, but all right.
I know that you don't like that, but this
Yeah,
was
just easy.
predictable for me.
Yeah.
But it's a very misused term, almost abused term where we use love. We don't we mix up things. We shuffle or exchange and in place of where we have to use respect or liking. or something else, but we use love. And then love becomes like, okay, yes, it gives a wrong idea. It gives a, or romance. So we go very good, very muddled kind of a impression of what the idea or conception of love. And then we get, of course, irritated with that because what is this now? Because like there is a movie coming in Pakistan. What love has nothing has to do with this. It's a very interesting title for me.
Wow.
Anyway, this is what I was sharing with Syl before you came. So
Wow.
now I'm going to eat and you guys are going to do the talk. Okay.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Just, perspective, and to say that we don't have to do things the usual ways. We can do them differently, right, Sher?
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's
Yes.
powerful. And we did do it differently yesterday. Yes.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. No, Lisa's not here yet, Norma. I'm hoping I just tagged her to say come. Maybe she'll see it. Lisa's internet was out for a couple of days, so why we didn't see her. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Norma's here, Sher's here, and am I screen sharing? I'm about to screen share. I'm about to screen share. And there we go. There we go. It's only when we live what we know that we are real. Yes. Did we live what we knew yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, we each had our values and boundaries that we were
Right.
standing on. So
Right.
yeah.
But I mean, we were practicing mood management. We were practicing respect.
Okay.
We were practicing listening. We were practicing, self-management and practicing not letting energy get out of hand. And we were practicing maintaining the overview perspective as much as possible without getting lost in an immersion. We could easily have gotten lost in that immersion, right? So there was a lot of pressure to get lost in that immersion, but we didn't. We held on to that, like the scuba diver maintaining the surface. We held on to that. That's a significant, profound accomplishment. It may not seem like it. I understand, sure, it doesn't seem like it necessarily. But when you really think about it as what it could have been, the difference, and especially where the awareness was, we were aware that we need to work and do stuff, and we were maintaining it, we were holding it, and despite the pressure on us. And that is really profound. That is a massive big deal. So we were living what we know, and we were real. We were very real, very real. Yeah, very powerful, very powerful. All right, will you read, please, Sure. I love hearing you read. It's a great joy.
Okay.
If you don't want to, I'll read. I mean,
No.
oh,
Just a
okay.
second.
I mean,
I'm just,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I know I ask, and it's sort of like, it sort of assumes that you want to, but it's totally free. I mean, sometimes it's just like, I'm not in the mood. It's not a problem.
We read
Just a
this
joy.
yesterday. We got this part. We
Oh,
went
we
through
did.
this.
We did this already.
Mhm.
All right. Oh, right. We did
Yeah, we sure did.
we got up to, where they said,
Yes, we did.
yes,
And I
an
finished
origin
off with
story.
that.
Yes, that's right. An origin story says Q. We'll just call him
Yeah,
Q.
Yeah. So what
Not
would
the
be the
same
next?
Q as in Star Trek, but
Right.
maybe. We don't know.
Probably close to it.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
All righty. Comelius, Biella said more seriously, do you not wonder? Do you not wonder at the mystery and marvelousness of your interaction here, now, at the school with me, with Ursula, with the other aspirants, with the delegates? Well, yes, most certainly. I'm at a bit of a loss or lost, I must say, Comelius acknowledged. Do you not wonder at it all in the context of your stated and confirmed intent? Biella pressed. Which one? Or did you've lost me a bit. Biella and Ursula affectionately giggled and squeezed his arms. Comelius had somehow ended up in the middle. He didn't remember how that happened. When you agreed to help me with the delegates, you expressly agreed to help me make things clearer, to help with understanding. and to do whatever was necessary to achieve those goals. You had been most earnest in that commitment.
Yeah, very powerful point here. Very powerful point. We're going to see on the next slide, it comes a little bit more. I want to elucidate and elaborate a little bit, and just also enjoy the picture behind it. Just look at that, and that's just too gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty.
Oh,
Prettier
I
if it's
just,
lavender.
if what was lavender, the field?
If the fields were fields of lavender.
Maybe they are. They're just not blooming right now.
Oh, that could be. Could be.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to believe. We'll have to believe they are. The key point here is that when Comelius agreed to help Biella, he was most earnest, but he didn't quite realize the power of his earnestness as it comes in his reply here in the next point. And this is something I really do feel we do need to pay attention to. Inadvertent intent, in other words.
What we
right?
say yes to.
Right. And so, I'll read Comelius here. Actually, we can do that going on here. I'll read the Comelius, you read everything else.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I did mean every word, but I was just being friendly. I mean, I really did do want to help as much as I can. Now, before we go on, I just want to make this comment here. When we set intents to help specifically, this is very prone to unintended consequence. Comelius is going to help by showing an adverse.
An adverse.
Right, an adverse exemplification. In other words, he's going to help the delegates and everybody in understanding what things are all about, in the greater understanding and the awareness and what the new nobility are all about, and by contrasting with Ursula. Yes, so he's also helping the story, as it were, and he's helping in a big way, and he's helping Biella, he's helping Ursula by essentially following this different path, and through that we get to see. Now, this is a real world intent, because when Comelius was saying that, this is my friend saying it to me, and he didn't intend for the story to go, or at least his development wasn't in his intent when it came to help. But boy, did he help the story in that intent to help me, because this came about, I shared with him the story and he was commenting on the story, and then after I folded his comments into the story and added him in as the character Comelius. Now there does have some, because of the different context, they end up being different characters, but nonetheless his intent materialized in a way that he didn't intend, or at least didn't specifically not intend, but didn't think could be. We don't think that when things go like Comelius, he has worldview collapse. He never thought his worldview collapse was coming, obviously. And secondly, never imagined that his worldview collapse would be profoundly useful, would be valuable, would contribute, would help. See what I mean? Yeah, and it does. It helps enormously. It's a massive help. So we have to be very, very careful of kind of blanket intents, like the intent to help, because we may help in ways that we don't consider. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Very, very powerful. Very, very, very powerful.
Okay, so you have power, Comelius, Biella said, leaving it there for the time being. Comelius, already lost in thought at that statement. She had a few things to tell Ursula before the registration. There's not much to the registration, Ursula, but I wanted to fill you and Comelius in on the background and how it all connects. If I don't get the opportunity, it will befall on you to fill in the delegates on this aspect of the new nobility and the ag. All the registration entails is getting you into the health and recognition system.
Let me pause you just there for a second. Right, because this is sort of it's just fun. I'm just giving now, part of our capital R reading is giving a bit of extra background. It's not always just about the deeper elucidation. So in that, getting you into the health and recognition system,
Yeah.
it is capital R reading. If we kind of think about it, what does it
But-
imply? Yeah.
Well, it's implying that they're becoming part of the greater community.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, health, obviously, okay, you're in the health system. If something happens to you, you get taken
Right.
care of. But
Right.
also the recognition system,
Right.
the new nobility, all they have an internal chip which connects them to the com, they call it, to the version of the internet, right? The communications, the com, they call it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
also, though, even if you don't have that, if you're in the system like Ursula, just through public cameras and stuff like that, you can get recognized, right?
Right.
and
Voice and
and so
facial.
yeah, voice and facial and biometrics, and it's but maybe more sophisticated there in the because it's a bit in the future, even though the technology is not that far in advance of ours, because they had to go back and kind of reinvent things, right, with the scattering. But still, though, you can get recognized, and because of that, if something does happen to you, then the system can take care of it. And I think,
Right.
I don't know if you were here when I said, like, if somebody loses their temper or something, a medical emergency, right? So they deal with it in
Right.
different ways. But still, it's a
Right.
cool system, though, to think that you recognized. And also, this is that when you go to a restaurant or something, as an aspirant now, you essentially eat free. Yes. So
Right. Right.
everything is free on Nobelia, because it's all corporate. And even though
Okay.
people do their own individual things because they just have a restaurant because they love doing it, it doesn't matter. For tourists, they'll pay, yes, but they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because it's a joy of theirs, a thing they do, like Coffee Noble coming up as a coffee shop.
Right.
It's a fun thing. All right. Anyway, I'm just saying, it's just a nice thing to see that the system is corporate taken to the max. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
very
All
cool.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So all the registration entails is getting you into the health and recognition system. You can choose any vacant place to live, or as most do, multiple places. You can freely eat or partake in any of the services and goods available across the planet. You will have access to a modest financial resource. It's mostly in case of off-planet emergencies or needs.
Norma
So
says, I hope you
incidentals.
say again, sir.
I said, so incidentals.
Incidentals, exactly. And it's not insignificant, but when you're going to, like Ursula now, what is money for her? I mean, she's taken
Yeah.
care of. If she needs whatever, food, clothing, stuff like that, that's all there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can order the stuff and it comes, and that's it. You have
Yeah.
access to all that. It's like you got a free account on Amazon and you get free place to live. What more do you need, right? Um,
Right.
but you can and do whatever you need to. It's all about attunement, right? So you're going to go this. But from Ursula's point of view, how is money even an issue? Yes, she's going to, dress and probably change her entire wardrobe. Not probably, she will change her entire wardrobe because of the way new nobility dress. But other than that, it's like money is just not a factor. It's just
Right.
not an issue. Now, I do want to comment on the living arrangements. I've actually got in the I've actually written this out, living on Nobelia. It's like a long, long thing. There's more to it than just, okay, you choose a place to stay. On Nobelia, because of the way their culture is, right? You find a place, and they when they started, they to develop the planet, they developed machinery that would take Earth and reformulate the Earth and extract all the necessary ingredients to make building material. And through these machines, they pull the earth up and they repackage it, and they can build, and you can build whatever you want to, essentially, or as long as you have the plans in detail, right? So you feed in the
Right.
plans, and then you say, okay, yeah, build this. So they have tons of housing always, and they always make sure there's more housing than there are people on Nobelia. So there's an excess of housing. And they'll build castles and God knows what, all right? I mean, whatever the hell you want to do, you build, right? Now, some things, if it's
Cool.
on a geographically special place that has special, then it's like a vote. And anyway,
Hmm.
do we build on this place or leave it natural, right? So then it becomes a communal thing. But other than that, okay, whatever. There's more stuff than you
Fun.
do. Now, mostly, you're not going to be building stuff because you don't need to. but you get to choose your place. So the rule is, if it's open and there's no obvious possessions in it, it's unoccupied, well, then it's yours. That's it. You move in. Now, and you can have multiple places, as long as you more or less use them all. However, here's the other thing. Part of the Nobilia culture, let me take off screen share for this, because it's kind of a fun discussion here. Part of
Okay.
Nobilia culture is that, yes, you might have another place elsewhere, moving around as like a little base of operations. But if you do go, let's say the equivalent of you go to another city, yeah,
Mhm.
you don't go and look for a place. You knock on the first door that you find, or the first door that attunement leads to you, and say, hello. And they say, well, come in. And it's just assumed you're coming to stay for a bit, right? That's it. It's part of the culture that if you go elsewhere, you go and knock on the door and say, hey, you got space for me? Yeah, sure, come in. Oh, no, we're full. All right, try next door. All right, off you go. Right? It's part of the culture that every home is open to anybody to come and stay. That's it. End of
Mm.
story. Yeah. So that
Hmm.
you have the stuff. Of course, you can say no if you really want to. Say not right now. I'm in a private space and whatever. Doesn't matter. But it's part of the culture to really freely stay and interact. I mean, just imagine how cool that would be. Yeah, where you could go and you're just staying with new people that you've never met before. But of course, because they're all really like so connected in a sense that they just open to. It's not a problem to have people in there because they're not really strangers. Yes.
Okay. Right now, that seems like a lot to wrap a
Extreme.
mind around, but that's just because,
Yeah.
that's just because
Yeah.
of the living environment now,
Exactly.
versus something in the
Exactly.
future. So,
Exactly. And also it's very cultural. I mean, because now, I mean, the planet, this is the people who live there are obviously new nobles and aspirants, right?
mhm,
So now you are knocking on, well, maybe the aspirants, I don't know, they might have a different set, maybe a bit awkward for them. They might, well, I don't know. Likely the aspirants won't be living in their own places, or at
right.
least won't be there. They might have a place like Ursula, but she's going to just where she stores her stuff, essentially like a base. But then she's going to go and stay because she wants to immerse in the culture. And this is the most ideal way to be a guest in somebody's home. And being a guest and being a host is taken very, very seriously. Utmost seriousness, right? This is a very
Yeah.
precious, precious relationship. Yes, it's a
But,
magically wonderful thing, right? So there's a
yeah,
lot that's involved in this, and it's a wonderful way to learn the culture, is it not?
it could be, or I guess
Yeah,
it would be, I mean,
yeah,
it just,
wow,
what I was going to say is it just goes to show, um, th- th- no matter how, I'd have to say, no matter where you are on your journey, your path, whatever, now in present time, um, kind of wondering if we're just really never that far removed from that superiority paradigm that we would like to think that we are. Because I'm
yeah,
thinking about
yeah,
how difficult it is to even just think about a living situation like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
being introverted. Maybe in
yeah,
the future,
yeah,
introvert and
yeah.
extrovert will not be a thing.
Yeah. Well,
Now it is.
yeah.
Now
It's
it
not so
is.
much that it's future; it's on Nobilia.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the
Different
idea.
culture,
What
right?
so yeah, so what I was trying to get
Yeah,
at was, um, like take for example, we've come out of what, that long year and a half, 2 year stretch of COVID and all that
yeah,
disaster.
yeah, yeah.
Well, introverts loved it. I mean,
Yes, yes.
we got to that. It's like, oh my goodness, okay, the world is now
This is
fitting
my
me.
time.
Yes,
Introversion.
yes,
This is
yeah,
my time. Yes,
yeah.
thank you, COVID.
Yeah, it's like the world fits. Okay, this is awesome.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now that the world is trying to shift back to where it was, and we can never go back truly, there's a lot of struggle. And so just
yeah,
trying to put my mind in that space of, that there could be a time when everybody was just communal, kind of
Right.
like the experiment
Right.
within the 60s, but still,
Yeah.
you
Now
know,
it's not necessarily to be communal. Yes, there are going to
Mhm.
be times when you need to say, hey, somebody knocks on your door, but then you'll put a do not disturb on your door.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
So
then
that
there's
yeah. I mean,
outs.
because there are obviously times where you want to be private and say it's just me and I need to reassess, I
Mhm.
need to think things through, I need my own space. So it's not that you're always doing this, but it's that you
Right.
have the opportunity to do so. Yes.
Mm.
And that
Yeah.
both you as one who goes and stays elsewhere, in other words, both as guest and host, there's massive
Right.
value. Now, keep in mind, why are you on Nobelia? Assuming that
As an
you there just
aspirant.
right, exactly, or as a new noble. But even as a new noble, you're there for the same reason. You're there
Mhm.
because you want more. You want to learn. You want to grow. You want to connect to everything.
Okay.
You want to expand your awareness. This is your intent. This is your deep intent.
Yeah,
Now,
so
if
that
that
would
is your
be
deep intent,
immersion.
exactly. When you immersed in that intent, how is it that you're not going to be wanting to connect to people who have a similar intent and who have different perspectives, different understandings, different views, have different, have been on the path for a while and you can learn from? Or they knew and you can learn from the newness because you say, wow, they're coming at this as a different angle. I never thought to learn in this way, right? So you learn both ways. So when you think of it in that context, this arrangement is one which everybody loves. Why? Because they want to connect and interact and learn and have community and communion, and also to do so with different people, not just the same. So you get to spread and see all the varieties of how the application is applied. So there's a
Right.
deeper sense to it when you consider the intent of everybody involved. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're a tourist, it's not mentioned in the briefing. But if somebody were to click onto this, if a tourist went and knocked on the door, can I stay with you? Likely the answer would be absolutely. You're more than welcome.
Yeah. If it were
Likely.
now, it'd be like, what's the purpose?
Right, right. No, I realize that, on this world, this is a very
Yeah.
different logic.
It
But on
is.
Nobelia, I mean, this is like, wow. Now, I'll tell you something else that's really interesting. Way before Airbnb, I mean, this has been going on for a long, long time. If
Yeah.
you went to Europe, like when I went to Europe, this was in 92,
Europe, it's acceptable.
91, right? Well, no, I
Hmm.
mean, is that they called them pensions, which was how Airbnb started with the couch surfing, right? The very first Airbnbs where you actually rented like a room in people's houses, right? It
Hmm.
wasn't like the whole house, and then it went more than that. But
Right.
this came from in Europe. Like if you look in the old Frommers, you can still find them in the flea markets. Frommers Guide to Traveling in Europe, but go back into like the 80s or the 90s or wherever, the pre-Airbnb, and you'll see it will list there for each city. It will list the names of people who are willing to rent out a room in their house. And we
Right.
did this when we went overseas back then, right? I remember the one in Italy, especially in Rome. A nice family, typical Italian mother, and we were there, part of the family. It was fantastic because it really gave us a flavor of living in Rome with Romans. Right. They may
Hmm.
not consider themselves Romans, they think Italians, but if you live in Rome,
Italians.
you're a Roman. Anyway,
Yeah.
so this was great. And it was part of the experience back then and still is today. You can still do this today. But that was, and they
Right.
called them pensions because it was typically people on a pension rented out a room because the kids are gone and they're supplementing the income, right? So that's how that name came about.
Hmm.
But man, I never forgot that. It was a very, very cool experience. It was really excellent. It's very nice. And so this
Yeah.
is part of the same sort of logic,
Hmm.
that you're getting to interact. And they really took you in. It
Yeah.
was a very profound experience. It was very cool. It was very cool.
Like exchange students. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was
Mhm.
that same logic because Frommer's is principally geared towards low budget travel, which was students, and they had all the
Right.
hostels and all that listed. It was very interesting. The hostels were actually fairly expensive relative to the pensions, and even some
Oh, they are.
hotels were cheaper than the hostels. Yeah. Yeah. I remember staying in, we looked for they didn't have huge resources. We were looking to stretch it. One hotel in Holland. and this was a hotel, not a pension, a hotel. To get
Yeah.
to our room, we climbed a ladder, not stairs, a ladder.
No, thank
I
you.
mean, yeah, when our backpacks were pretty heavy,
Yeah, no, thank you.
and yeah, I'm just saying it was tiny, but hey, it was cheap, just that it blows your mind that there's these different types of places, that
Yeah.
you wouldn't think that a hotel would have a ladder. It was so steep, it wasn't vertical, it was, but man, I struggled
Well,
to get up there with my backpack wanting to pull me off. But hey, it worked. It was fun. So
in
just
that
different things,
movie,
different things.
was it called After the Rain? With the Japanese samurai with
Oh,
the
yes, yes,
Ren,
yes, After the
yeah,
Rain.
Ronin.
Ah,
Yeah, with the
yeah,
Ronin
yeah,
warrior.
the Ronin, right.
He and his wife, that place that they all stayed in, it was kind of like that, like the hostel where,
Yes, yes,
and it was
yes,
just there,
yes, yes,
it was just
yes,
there for all
yes,
travelers to go and
right,
stay.
right, right.
Everybody had a bed or a
The inn
place
on
or a
the bank of
room.
the river, right, right.
Hmm.
Also, we were seeing that inn in an unusual circumstance. Now, the inn did have individual rooms, like
Yeah,
look,
right.
that Ronan and his wife were in their own room, but in
Hmm.
that communal space, because the river was flooded, it was after the rain and nobody could cross. The inn
Right.
was jam-packed. It was overflowing because there had been a long rain, right?
More than full.
Right. So it was more than full. So you saw them all sitting in that communal space. Now, for
Right.
those watching this is a movie I highly, highly, highly recommend. It's called After the Rain, and it's a Kurosawa movie. There's
You will
another
not
movie
forget
called
it.
After the Rain, which has nothing to do with this, right? It's by
Right.
Akira Kurosawa. You can look up, if you look up
Yes.
After Rain Kurosawa, it'll come up, right? It's an old Japanese movie made by Kurosawa, and I think his son or his grandson is an actor in it. But anyway, it's a very, very powerful movie that has a lot of nuance in it, and you are seeing a moreness that you don't see typically in movies, right? And you get like the main character,
Right.
this Ronin, and his wife even.
Hmm.
They could be aspirants. Yes,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could be aspirants.
Absolutely.
Very different mindset. And really just, in terms of him going above and beyond, that innate nobility that he had, real nobility. Yes.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
and he, like the feudal lord has a bit of the typical old style BMN type nobility, but then he too is a
Right.
little different, and there's just, it's
But he
wonderful.
also found at the end, he finds his own nobility. He truly
Exactly.
does. I mean, he
His real
realizes,
nobility, exactly.
yes. Yeah.
Because of through the interaction,
Yes.
he's made aware. He has an awareness, a coming into awareness, which you also seldom see in movies. Your characters tend to act according
Right.
to the way they've been defined, but the starting character and the end character in that movie, of all the main characters, are very different.
Everybody changed.
Yes.
Everybody changed, including the wife. Yeah.
Exactly,
It was great.
exactly, including the wife, exactly, and the
Mhm.
prostitute too.
Yep. She
I
changed
mean,
too.
yeah, and yeah, just and the officials. It was wonderful to see change in action, and change not artificially constructed for the purpose of the movie, but how this realistically plausible, realistic change. It
Right.
was a fantastic movie. All right, so
Right.
I really recommend it. I'll type it into uh Oh, no problem, Norma. We digressing onto a story here now, so we're not on the story itself.
Yeah.
This is the point of our sharing in the week, is these digressions. So no worries, no worries. We just digress. So I like to hear your comments. I like to hear comments. All right, we'll get back to the story now. So fun stuff, just in terms of the living arrangements, that there is this option, and for somebody like Ursula, I mean, just think she's going to be most excited oh, you mean, well, it's not explained here yet, because I don't want to make it too long about the details. But when Biella says, yes, part of it is you knock on any door and say, you got space for me, can I stay? And it's not an imposition, it's something that is desired. Yeah, I mean, I think Ursula would be thrilled at
I
this
just wonder
idea,
what he
right?
thinks of it. Ursula would be, but I'm just wondering what Comelius would think of all of that. He doesn't strike me as somebody that would.
Comelius would be like, really?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Kind of. My reaction.
He'd be a bit skeptical.
Yep.
I suppose that's a good thing, but not
Mm,
something I'm going to be partaking of easily and
Yeah.
readily. Yeah, I mean, this is outside his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Of course it
yeah,
is.
yeah. Beena, what do you think of all of this? We can't move on until we've heard from Beena.
Well, I think she dropped. No, she's back.
No,
Good.
she's here. She just said she was eating. So we need to hear with your mouth full, Beena. Or she may have, oh, she did drop actually.
Yeah.
She may have gone to eat. So yeah, then she's not here. Because typically she doesn't eat at, oh yes, she's back again. Beena, are you back? We want to hear from you what you think about this, Beena, about the living arrangements.
Yes, yes, yes.
What do you think?
Okay.
What do you think about this idea of people just coming by and knocking on your door and say, hey, can I come stay?
For me, it's not entirely new, okay? Because
Exactly.
Oh,
Beena already has this in
this
her
is
world. Yeah.
really?
Oh yeah.
yes. Yeah, because some social experiments also, some organizations were doing that, especially for Muslim community. If you just knock on their door and ask for food or say, okay, yes, I am in need, they cannot say, and they will not say no. They will just say, okay, just come, okay, whatever we can. And if they have food ready, they will invite you,
Wow.
okay, have it, and then that's it. So it's and also that the
Man.
relatives coming to each other's house when someone is in trouble. This is what they do. Okay, yes, okay, you can come and stay with us. This is a natural thing. This is part of my culture also.
Hmm.
Another thing is that that Christians, Muslims also have this thing that yearly they have to put some 2.5 percentage of their income for the charity purpose. So now what people actually do, that instead of just giving that a small amount every month, uh, independently, they pool that money, like known people, they just pool that money. And instead of giving someone grocery or something, they say, okay, we can buy a house, a small tiny apartment or something for you if someone is in need. So this living thing is not entirely new for me. I
Yeah.
know that okay,
Yeah.
this can be, and it's a part of my culture. It is happening right now in my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
Um,
new.
well,
But
sure.
of
If you
course,
went and knocked
every
on
system
Venus, oh,
needs to
oh, sorry.
update, and more than that. But yes.
Yeah. 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 I know Venus here. Venus here. Sure. If you went and knocked on Venus' door right now, right? If you were there in Pakistan, knocked on the door, it would be no problem. All right, maybe it's a bit late in the night now to knock on the door, but then again, Beena, them they up late, right, Beena? It would not be an issue if Sher said hello, and then yeah, I mean you'd invite her to stay automatically, right, Beena?
Say it again. You were breaking. Say it.
Oh, I said if Sher were to knock on your door right now, right? How would you relate to that? How would you interact?
Hello.
You didn't
Hello.
hear me?
Yes. Okay. I'm back. I was hearing you, but not complete. So just say it
Oh,
again.
oh.
I can give complete answer.
If Sher were to knock on your door right now, how would you
Yes.
respond to her?
This will be like duh for me. So yes,
Yeah,
thing. You are here,
yeah,
and this is our house. That's it.
yeah, yeah. If
This
you had
this
space,
actually
she'd be welcome.
yes. And of course,
Yeah,
if we don't have that, okay, we can share. Like if this is my bedroom, and I am
yeah,
the only one here in my room, so of course you can
yeah.
come share my bed. I have a
There you go.
queen size bed, so you can share. That's it. I
Oh,
have a triple door cupboard here. We can share. And this is okay. I'm not just saying that. I already practice this. One of my
yeah,
friend who was China, she was a Chinese woman, and one day she actually came and she says, "I don't have a place to live. Okay, and I cannot go back." And I said, "So what?" So just stay. And she was staying in our house for more than 2 months. She was here. It was uncomfortable for me, not because that, okay, she was a guest or like, that's why. No, not for any reason, but it was uncomfortable because of her way of being was not comfortable for me. And that was the only problem. Then I had to go out and I said, okay, you can stay, you can sleep on this bed. I'm just going to adjust myself somewhere else. So I was sleeping on couch. And some relatives also. This is what is happening. Like one
Yes,
of
I
our
remember snoring
family
auntie.
Yes, yes. And then she was here. Before that, one of our relatives, Mama's cousin, they live in a different city, in a smaller city compared to Karachi, and it was their son's wedding. And they say, okay, we don't have a place to do that. And Mama said, so I have a place in, and we had a whole huge wedding here in our apartment, and then I don't know, more than 70 people were living here for 3 days. It was a big, huge party going on all the time.
Wow, wow,
So
wow.
it's a, and I am not an exception, or my family is not an
No,
exception.
no,
This is
no,
how things are.
no.
So I'm not
Yeah.
saying that just because that, okay, we are like that. No, things are shared very casually here, very
Yeah.
casual.
Wow, wow,
Okay, we live in an apartment and we have a small car parking, not a small car parking, but a bit narrow car parking area. So then there are, of course, so many cars. So sometimes it happens that your car is stuck in a backside. And when someone has to go in emergency, they can pick anyone's car keys from the watchman and they can go and come back and do their thing. No one object on that. That okay, yes, it was an emergency and it was needed.
yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
This is how things
Yeah.
are here. Uh, I don't know how to explain this because sometimes when I hear stories from other side,
Yes.
they look
It's
very
it's
exceptional,
definitely
like
not like that
very
in the
noble and
No,
Western.
no,
noble.
no, no.
It's
There's a
definitely not like that in
yeah,
the Western
yeah.
part.
Well, it's not there everywhere either, Beena. I mean, your particular extended community is a little different. Yeah. It's not all over. Mostly, but not everywhere, right? Beena?
I know that.
Mostly. No. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, there are criminals here. There are people who are mean.
No.
There are people who snatch other people's things and all these things. This is also happening.
Why?
It's a natural
Why?
human society here. But and when you compare with average, I can say that okay, this is a common practice. Sharing
No.
things with each other. It's a common thing. Like just today, what
No.
happens? So one of my Farouk's, my brother's friend, he has a bungalow which is empty, and he says, okay, so I'm actually fixing it. It's a big 500 square yard bungalow, and then he says, okay, I'm fixing it because one of my friend sister is having will have a wedding, so I'm just fixing it for them. And then Farouk, you can have Amy's wedding there. And then someone else, okay, yeah. So he was just telling everyone because I have this
Wonderful.
empty space, so you guys, and it was like, duh. So what?
Very
Like,
powerful.
so this is what I'm just sharing. This is how things are. Of
Yes.
course,
Yes.
it's not an angel world here. Of course,
Right.
other things are also there,
Right.
but mostly this is how things are. This is how our
At
culture is.
least in certain greater extended communities. That's what I mean. You're part of
Mhm.
that. So very powerful. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Yes,
Very cool, Beena. Very cool.
sure.
Yeah.
You don't need to. Of course, if you are here, you don't need to ask anything. This
Yeah.
is just yeah. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm going there.
Yeah.
Where I'm
Yeah.
going to stay. Of course, Beena is
Yeah.
here. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm going to stay there. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of it is, and I realize, sure, I grew up also where this was, man, out of the question. if you were invited, people were very respectful to you and treated you as
Yes.
a guest, but you also had your guest responsibilities. Yes, but it's staying in people's houses was kind of a big deal. Now, as kids, yes, the kids stayed quite freely across, but not
Yeah.
as a family. Yeah, I have a big story about, sharing, a very profound story where I stayed as a guest on a farm of a very, very poor family. At least family fallen on, it was drought, and so they were fallen on hard times. Where the boy asked me to save the candle, anyway. But still, they invited me because the boy thought I'd be alone, and it was an act of charity on his behalf. It was a profound story. So I'm just saying there were exceptions there, but in general, this freedom that your house is your castle, it's me, it's private, and it's an exception when people come into your house. And it's kind of a big deal. And the key here is why I brought in Beena is because there's a different relational understanding about your home in her culture than what we have. So it's different culturally, and it changes in around the world. It's very different aspects of this. It's really interesting how it's different. And what we take for granted, because the home is so something you grow up in, we take it sort of for granted that this is just how it is everywhere, we assume, but it's not so. The attitudes and mindsets and beliefs about what is the home and what isn't. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. Very different. All right, let's continue. Are you ready to read a bit, Beena, or we're going to listen more to wonderful Sher reading?
Okay, I can read. You guys were just not so comfortable with each other. Like, who's gonna read? I'm going to read now.
All right.
I was listening. No, it was fun. Anyway, I want to read because I want to practice. That's it.
Wow, good.
Yes. Hold on, Biella. Okay, if it would be Syl, it will be like, hold on.
But this is Comelius, so it's slow. Hold on.
If it would be Syl,
Yeah.
that hold on would be audible for whole neighborhood. Like, hold on. Hold on, Biella. Okay. Hold
I'll
on,
try and be
Biella.
more calm.
Comelius protested. Okay, could you slow it down and back it up a bit for me? I was a late arrival to the delegation, and it seemed I missed much more than I realized. Could you tell me about the whole planet, the system, the way everything here works, all the details? I know I could get those from the information service, but I'll just fall asleep. I get so much more when hearing things from you. Wow, okay. Now Comelius is getting somewhere.
Yeah.
He smiled so endearingly. Biella could only laugh.
Yeah.
I would also like to hear more, Biella, Ursula said, adding with a twinkle. It would go a long way with the delegates if I had some extra in-depth details. Biella chuckled, enjoying the artful play of Ursula. A tease of what is the pronunciation for that name?
Cajole.
Okay. Cajole. Okay. Mixed in with truth all in one. Ursula was picking up the spirit of things so fast, so excellent. That's so beautiful. We are not immune to some counter teasing temptation. Yes. Instead of responding to either of them, said, Comelius, you know so much, but you really want to understand. Those two are battling inside you. Biella abruptly switched topic. The planet Nobilia, the entire planet, is the school of nobility. Most visitors don't realize this. They simply think of Nobilia as the planet of the new nobles. They see the campuses and don't always realize they are campuses.
All right, so let's pause there for a second, right? Now, when Biella means a campus, right? If you go to your university, typically you'll see, well, at least the universities that I've seen, you'll see students' classes, and then you see students outside on the lawns and the grasses hanging out in between classes or when the break or lunchtime. Right? So the people sitting around, interacting in groups, right? This is very typical because, well, you're in between a class. What are you going to do? You want to discuss what's going on in the class. So discussion and groups are a very big part of university life, or at least the ones that I've seen and familiar with. But also now you think a campus, they're classrooms. No, not in the usual sense, because then the learning isn't through lectures. The learning is through doing and sharing and being and interacting. So on those lawns, those glasses, or whatever, any place where there's congregation, this is the classroom, right? Everybody learns from everybody else. You're always both student and teacher at the same time. You're not trying to teach anybody. You learn via sharing. So everything is a classroom, right? But the system is set up to maximize interaction, like all the gardens and the parks and places like that, where you can hang out, gazebos and places where, you can perform arts and, sing and dance, whatever. Restaurants, all communal places. Like in the restaurants too, they typically don't have individual tables. It's like one great big table usually, and that's it. And you join, or a couple of great big, like massive tables for 10 or 12 people, and then big round ones, stuff like that. Yeah. So you're always joining into a group somewhere. Now you don't have to, of course, and sometimes people want to be alone, and then they'll go to be alone. But this is how the campus works, in that all of it is a campus, and don't realize that. Now again, when we think of Nobelia, the entire planet is the school of nobility. Yes, of, not for, right? And when you think of it in that sense, again, what I was saying earlier about the living arrangements and the interaction arrangements, because it's a school and you're here for the purpose of learning, now it changes your entire dynamic of being there. And again, 90% of the new nobles do not live on Nobelia. Yes, they end up elsewhere because of attunement, just the way the system works. All right, we'll get to that a little later on. But it makes sense, right, Sher, in the context of our conversation earlier about the living, yeah? You're there with an intent. You're there with an intent. Now, please keep going, Beena. Please keep going. And jump in, Sher. Jump in anytime, because we're doing the capital R reading, so jump in anytime.
Okay. There are many, many more new nobles than most people realize. About 1 in 2 to 3,000 per congregated community, maybe more. It's stabilized at that number. No one is sure why. Your
Right.
strong desire.
Sorry, just to elaborate
No
there.
problem. No problem.
Biella is sort of making a comment that she doesn't explain enough on, but she really needs to. She's making a comment as if this is for people who are familiar with the ag already. If you live in the ag and your planet is part of the ag, then you know about the new nobility, because every community has 1 or 2 of them in it. And a community of being between 5 and 10,000 is a typical community. Like if you just look at your neighborhoods, right, that you live in, whether it's in a city or a town or whatever, if you extend what is regarded as your neighborhood and actually add up the people, it's about 5 to 10,000, which is the same as like a small town, right? Like when I grew up in a very small town, it was 5,000 people, and you kind of knew everybody in the town, right? Maybe some a little less than, but you knew who they were or who stayed there. It's very seldom you didn't know who was there, right? So that's community. Now, not all communities know each other that well, but still, if you go to, like, let's say New York, and you stay on the street, your community where your local little convenience store is, and so on, and the barber and the hairdresser, typically, again, see, 5 and 10,000, right? So for every such community, there's at least usually 2 nobles, 2 new nobles in there, right? And so when you're out in the ag, you're aware of them because they're part of your community. They're not a massive part, but they're there. It's like, I guess, in a doctor, right? Everybody knows the community doctor, who that is, if there is such a thing, right? Some don't have it, but used to be that communities had their own doctors, not so much anymore. But nonetheless, so this is a thing where she's saying about 1 or 2,000 per community, and that's where most of the new nobles are. They're out there in the ag. Just for a little bit of background there. Now, please keep going, Beena.
Yes. Your strong desire to understand interferes with your ability to know. I want to read this again. Your
All right.
strong desire to understand interferes with your ability to know. Mhm. Okay. 5 to 10,000 is about the number of people in an average community. This allows for at least 2 new nobles per community. For some reason, the number of new nobles nicely corresponds to that. It's a rare, it's a be on their own somewhere. Constant feedback, verification, and checking from another new noble is too invaluable. It's convenient, this ratio, and works out really well. No one can say exactly why it's so.
Yeah.
Just this sentence again, that your strong desire to understand interferes with ability, with your ability to know. What is
Yeah.
this?
Right. So this is Biella. We're going to come to this later on. She is throwing out comments at Comelius, but she's not making them comments of the usual interaction and response. She's practicing a particular technique here of assisting Comelius with his worldview collapse to make it easier for him. So she's throwing out these comments which are designed to kind of like stimulate his thinking in particular thoughts and ideas and directions. So she's assisting here. She's just putting ideas into awareness that might not be so obvious. Because look, she says earlier, she says, Comelius, you know so much, but you really want to understand. Right? And then she says to follow it up there, if you tie those two together, she says, your strong desire to understand interferes with your ability to know. Now, it's not clear there. You have to say, well, but you do exactly what you're doing now, Beena. This is exactly the effect on Comelius that's desired. If you think about what Biella is saying, is, but wait a second. I know a lot, but I really want to understand. But my desire to understand interferes with my ability to know. How is that possible? So I'll leave this for you to puzzle about, Beena. Let's see a little bit further as it goes. There may not be an answer forthcoming from Biella, because this point is not to give an answer, but to stimulate the question.
See,
It's a
I told you,
problem.
I have some resemblance with Comelius.
We all
I'm
do.
saying
We
resemblance, not
all do.
relevance, but
We
resemblance. Yeah.
all do. We all do. It's
Okay.
legacy, as Sher was saying earlier, right? Sher, if
Yes.
I understood you correctly, you were saying we have legacy superiority paradigm nonsense in us. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now it is nonsense. This is now it's not very
Appropriate use of
appropriate
the
for me.
word nonsense.
Yes. Okay. This nonsense, because sense is, again, it is subjective. It doesn't make sense to you or not, or
Right,
it is truly
right, right.
subjective. So, but yes, the superiority paradigm uh, is 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 very inherent. It very organic to us, and for some
Yes,
reasons, because
yes.
otherwise, human species were too fragile to survive in this world. So they had to have some kind of assumptions about themselves to build their initial trust in themselves to survive, uh, which is, of course, not needed anymore. But of course, the evolution is not very smooth and not very rapid for us. It is happening, but it is gradually. But I think that it was very sensible at the time to have some sort of superiority paradigm for human beings to start actually surviving here. Not only just surviving, but actually thriving, which we actually did. We end up with, we look at us, we thrive, okay, not in a very according to way of impeccability and standards, not very impeccable way, but human really thrive here. We were among so many other species here. We were part of that community. But look at us, we are so much in control. Even
Yes.
though we were not really capable of. So at that time, that superiority paradigm was actually okay, valuable for us to get to have that self
Yeah.
trust to achieve and learn things.
Yeah.
I think that okay, it was sensible. Things can be sensible at one point and completely nonsense at second
Exactly.
on the other. No problem.
Exactly.
No problem with that.
Exactly. Very cool.
I don't
Very
like
cool.
these type of words, nonsense
Right.
and sense. I don't like because it sounds a bit derogatory for me. But
Right.
these are the terms
right.
that okay. Oh, it's total nonsense. But nonsense according to who? That person
Exactly.
might have some
Exactly.
sense to it. So I don't
Yeah.
like to use, but
Yeah.
sometimes
That's
again,
good. That's good,
limitation
Bean.
of language.
Yes.
Limitation of
Yes.
languages.
Part of me being an aspirant, or at least considering myself an aspirant, in the story, I write things into the story, which I extrapolate and imagine as a possibility. And like with the living arrangements, for me, I feel that I'm not writing it as a has to be, but as an option that is available. And part of it is, I feel that would I exercise that option? Well, maybe now, yes, but at some point in my life earlier, absolutely not. I would have been exceedingly reluctant to do so. It would have been very difficult to do so, even though I spent much time living in other people's houses. It was always an awkward thing for me and a stressful thing. Yeah. Even though I deliberately did there and went to, like, with my one friend, I went almost every weekend and stayed with them, went on holiday with them and everything, right? Well, it was just an alternative place to be rather than be at home, which was great, right? Uh, but this is still, though, I didn't have the 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 breadth of character and the freedom of being to be able to be comfortable in such situations. And that's something I aspired to. And I've made an effort now. Like if I go now, I'll be at ease. It'd be no problem. Right? I mean, I had to learn to acquire this. It's a deliberate, specific thing that I made an effort to do. Also, it's just about eating. Now, if I'm with people who are very open and say, well, with eating, I don't know what you want, like the new nobility aren't just going to make food and assume you're going to eat it. Say, well, if you have any preference, there's the fridge, there's the thing. You can see, I'm happy I'm making this already. If you're willing to eat it, no problem. If not, make your own, right? That's how they would deal with eating there. Or you'd order something if you wanted to. But still, it's a different logic entirely. When you look at it in the context of where am I at personally? Am I able to be this way? Yeah, and some things that we know we're a little bit culturally stuck, as it were, or culturally constrained. Yes, sure. Makes sense. Yeah, just good to be aware of. It doesn't mean that we don't want to aspire to get out of that, but it's difficult. It's difficult because you've got a lifelong, ingrainedness and conditioning to say this is how things work. This is how, and those are hard to overcome. Those are very hard to overcome. Yeah.
For me also, sir, because sometimes for me, when I say things, for me, it's like, okay, in my mind, the assumption is this is how things are. I can openly say things to you. I can openly say things to share, and I can just share things. For me, this is how things are, but not necessarily. It's a
Oh,
difference of culture, of course, and a difference of preferences and choices. Assumptions can be, of course, in any shape or size or type. So my assumptions are mostly like, okay, I assume that you guys will understand what I'm sharing is not coming from any ego nonsense, or I'm not just sharing just to brag about anything. I
right.
assume things, or sometimes I just say it very openly, any comments or something, because for me, this is how things are. I do share, but assumptions again, these are also assumptions from my side that I assume that things are that. But I think that sometimes, again, as appropriate, sometimes we can get some value from assumptions also. We Because by assuming that okay, these things are like this for you guys, I I am open, and now it can provide, it might provide you guys also opportunity to be as open as I am with you. You can be open like this too.
Yeah.
For me, this is how things are. Just on a lighter note again, there is a living, okay, more celebrity kind of a person who is a very famous actor beside Shah Rukh Khan in Bollywood. His name is Salman Khan. He's also a Muslim guy, by the way, and they live in an apartment. And when they come on reality show, he has his family. They are very popular, and his father was sharing stories that because he's a very generous and a very different kind of a person. And then his father shared that uh, I was just wondering sometime that whenever I just call my home, someone pick the phone and then they say, okay, he's not here, he's not there, and all these things. And but I never understand that. Okay, at least for years he didn't understand that who was picking phone in his house, in his own house. And then one day they realized that it's been 4 years. That person is living in our house, not in any sneaky way, but he just came to meet them, and then he just never left because their house is so open for guests. They themselves never get to really understand that what's going on. He was living like all of his other sons and like and their friends. He says that my house is so open because I have 4 sons and they all have endless friends and they just come and they just live. So I don't know. Sometimes we cannot just keep record of like okay who is coming and that person was living for years in my house. I had no idea. He was not a criminal guy, but he just stays there. Sometimes things are like that for people, and you can search him online. He's a very different kind of person. He was involved or scandalized by so many other things, but also that he's a very helpful person. Uh, from his childhood, he says that okay, one of our teachers said that okay, some children in a school having some going through some financial problems, so they cannot afford uh, the lunch. So you guys are going to just whoever who can help, whatever you can. And he was in class fourth, I guess, at the time. He just went to teacher and asked how many students, and she says 20 or 21. He says okay, so they are going to have lunch with me. And from that day, he just asked his mother that, okay, I'm going to have 21 friends with me at lunch. That's it. And their whole life, school life, they were having lunch at his place. For him, it was like duh. And that is again an assumption. I'm not encouraging this, but sometimes you get no other perspective. You have no other perspective than your own reality.
Hmm.
So for you, it is like, but for other people, it was not.
Can you say that again? You have no other perspective than your
Then your
reality.
reality. Yes.
Very powerful.
And we do have this situation here sometimes. I do get a bit of wrong perception of me from others because I do share things very openly. So what?
Or inaccurate
So what?
perception. Yeah.
Inaccurate, yes.
Hmm.
They assume things about me.
Yeah.
So it's okay. But deliberate living is teaching me something more. I'm trying to integrate all these things and understanding into my way of being. But of course, I
Wonderful.
cannot entirely change myself. I don't want to.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh.
Okay. So beside your background and your colorful shirt, we are still interested in slides.
You're interested in, oh, right. All right. One moment. All right. All right. Let's get back to screen share. Sure, I'm keen to hear from you. What you thinking? What you thinking? Nothing. All right.
Yes.
It's too cool. It's too cool. It's too cool. It's too cool. All right. No
No,
one can say, oh, go ahead. Say again.
I'm not thinking of anything. I'm focusing on what's going on in the room next to me. So
Oh, I got you. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Please continue, Beena. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Biella deliberately mixed the conversations, a technique long in development, something she'd created but had few opportunities to implement. Comelius seemed to be at a crossroads. Biella provided her own opportunities, all she could do. Hmm. Besides sharing as appropriate,
Right. So there's the
Comelius.
key to what she's doing. She's
Hmm.
in her, from her perspective, right? And she sees what's coming with Comelius. She's very aware of what's coming with Comelius. I mean, she's also now, obviously aware of Ursula too, and particularly since they have been thrown in this together, the three of them, right from the start, right where Comelius agreed to assist. Yes. And Ursula also, just from being more involved, and just speaking up a bit and commenting, they stood out, and there's that implied assistance. But in Comelius's case, it was a bit more specific and deliberate. And nonetheless, she sees what's coming with Comelius and knows there's little
Hmm.
she can do. However, she's having a gesture with Comelius. So she is providing opportunities and options through sharing for Comelius to perhaps maybe take a different path, right? So he's, like you could think of something that's got some momentum, trundling down a road, and on the normal road, it doesn't have any side paths or alternate paths or roads coming off of it. But these comments that she makes open up new potential roads which he could possibly take rather than the one he's on, right? But there's momentum in what he's doing, so she knows the chances of him doing so are fairly slim. Nonetheless, she tries, right? But this is very key, that she's providing her own opportunities, as she could do. Yeah, all she could do besides sharing as appropriate, providing opportunities. Yes, her own. It's not too clear there. It's providing opportunities from her own perspective, I guess. Her
Yes, it is
is
that
coming from her.
that was
Yeah.
confusing. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. It's not
Elaborate.
opportunities for herself. Yeah, but
Yes.
we'll see as it comes a little clearer. It'll come
Okay.
clearer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Comelius had the look of someone not sure they'd heard correctly. Biella let slip not an iota of recognition. Ursula didn't react. Taking her cue from Biella, oh, what a team they made. Biella smiled inwardly at the thought, and with Comelius, what a team.
Yeah. See, so I'll put this in there. Yeah, I'll change it to Biella providing opportunities. All she could do besides sharing as appropriate. Yes, they are. They make a wonderful team. They make a wonderful team. So. What's going on with Comelius and why? Go into detail on his internal psychology. Now, we've already done this. And as Beena was saying, we actually don't want to be putting too much attention on Comelius, because then we bring this into our worlds, right? Let's
Yes, this is
shift
what
it
I
a
was
bit.
saying. Yes.
Right. What might Biella's plan and motivations be when it comes to Comelius? Now, this is a more positive topic. Again, she can't be saying, Comelius, this is what you need to do, this is what you do. She can't presume on his behalf. But the path that he's on is there's such a lot of momentum. It's when you assess it as a probability assessment, it's a very high probability that he is on this path and where it's going. So it's not like she's guessing here really, or presuming. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Right now, it might not be. There's a very small chance, and she always keeps that in mind. But nonetheless, so what she can do here is very little. except put ideas, thoughts, awarenesses, options, alternatives out there for Comelius. Throw him lifelines. Whether he grabs on them or not, that's not much that you can do about it, right? And she understands this is a process that we just have to go through sometimes. Yeah. Right. Becoming a new noble involves little and is very simple. Share any problems or complications you might foresee to the system. Now, there's a great question, right? So what potential problems or complications might you foresee in terms of like Ursula now and somebody joining like Ursula? Like, if you think about it, like, well, I'm not so sure how this would work. Like, well, what maybe this would happen. What happens if this happens, right? What kind of things could you think of?
The biggest problem for me, it would be that to understand the intent of other people. Okay, I'm coming from this understanding that, okay, it's all good, but to understand that from where they are coming, sometimes their actions, their words, their usage of words is completely, not completely different, but they give
Yes.
a very in between kind of idea, which is
Yes.
not like entirely clear, not entirely, not muddled also. It's in between. It can go either way. So for me, the biggest problem to understand when you are there, like they are following queuing without having any verbal communication about it,
Wow.
like
Wow.
Biella and Ursula. It just happened organically. But it is going to be a bit uncomfortable for a third person there. When two people are having this type of bonding, this type of conversation, and you are the one who is not understanding thing, it will be very difficult for me to
Wow.
be like, not difficult, but uncomfortable to be in this type of
Wow.
situation and assuming their intent, because I don't want to assume. I want clarity again. Uh,
Yes.
that would be the biggest challenge for
All
me.
right. So let's put this in the context of what we were saying earlier about people sharing. When you go and you visit and stay over at somebody's house, or they stay over at your house, what is the intent of those in the house relative to the person staying there? It's very clear your intent is to make them as comfortable and as at ease and as joyful
Yes,
and happy as possible. Well, that's very
yes,
much the intent of the entire society in every interaction. And look at this with Biella. Her intent is to make this, it's like Comelius is a guest. He is. He's literally a guest on Nobilia. And he's an
yes.
uncomfortable guest. And she's looking to make his stay as comfortable as possible. Norma has some very, very interesting questions here. When you say who did the cooking, would you mean on Nobilia or with Beena and when her friend was staying there? Or people come and visit? I'm not sure what you mean there.
Who did the
Which
cooking?
cooking?
Okay, okay. If it is about my friend staying with me, we were taking care of cooking, of course. But because she was Chinese and we are Pakistanis, so the cuisine is completely different. Though she was very fond of Pakistani cooking,
Ah,
but still she says, "Beena, I miss my food, and
ah,
I'm going to make for
yeah,
everyone." So she
right,
was doing, but rarely.
yeah.
Rarely she was doing
No,
cooking, and we really
oh,
enjoyed.
interesting.
Just
Interesting. Norma says on
yes, we
Nobilia,
just
she was
loved that.
asking about the cooking. Now, the cooking on Nobilia
Oh,
is, well, if you stay in somebody's house, I'm the host, I cook. Or if, if you want to, you're welcome to make your own food. But I'm doing what I normally do. It's just, I'm just doing my, now also on Nobilia, they have much automation. And you can order cooked food from automated
I
cooking facilities, right? So this is they love
I
automation
didn't.
to make your life easier. So if you
Oh
don't want to eat,
God,
you
you
can.
guys are snatching all the positive energy from the food now. Automated food?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
I know
you
that for you.
can
Why
have a
not? For
pizza
me,
making. Okay, well, when I put rice in the rice cooker, is that not automated?
it's still
I mean, it's
your
like,
intent
okay,
is the
so
important thing.
I
It's
physically
still
put
your
it
good
in,
intent is
but
there.
but what
No,
what
no,
if I
it's
had
not
a little button
physically.
that I
No,
could
no,
press
no.
and then the scoop went into the rice container and it took it out and put it in the thing. You can automate it. It's not that hard to do. Anyway, so so cooking is, but the new nobility love to cook because when you're cooking, this is part of you. It's not like I'm going to be doing the cooking. If you come into my house, we're cooking, everybody's in the kitchen while we're cooking, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and will you fetch this, please? Will you? Cooking is also communal, and it's a fantastic place to interact and connect and to know people. It's an incredible place when you cook communally. So they have these huge kitchens which are set up for this communal cooking, where everybody can, how many ever, a couple of dozen people, if need be, can be in your kitchen. It's a big kitchen, right? Open plan kitchens with the counters in the middle, stuff that you can be on this side, that side, whatever, right? So it's all part of the system. So the cooking is very, very communal too, but it depends on the guest, on the host. They say, hey, I know you guys like to involve with the cooking, but sorry, in this is me and this is my show, and you're going to be enjoying my creation. All right, well, okay, that's how you do things. I'm the guest, no problem, right? And so it's a very freedom to it, very open, very free. But again, too, like I said, you can get automated food if you want to. You want to order a pizza, you can order it from somebody, a new noble who runs a pizzeria. And they do this because they just love it. It just gives them a focus in their lives. There is that, right? Or you can just order it from the automated pizza thing, and there you go, right? So they have both options, right? Norma said earlier, though, it's interesting how they share somehow singly. I'm not exactly sure how you mean this, Norma. Well, you're sharing, and because you're sharing from your deep heart, I guess that's sharing singly. I can't really share on behalf of others. I can only share deeply on my own behalf, like we're doing here now, right? How aware are they of female or male or other alternatives? Not at all. They don't care two hoots about it. It's totally irrelevant. It's not an issue. None. Zero. It makes it. They don't look at people as gender. They don't even see them as people, as human beings. Why? Because there's other species around. They see them as sentient beings. And that's the only awareness. Who knows what the gender of the community is? Right? The alien who's with them. We have no clue. They look like an ambulatory anthill. Who knows what? They may not even have gender. Who knows? Maybe self-reproducing or something. We don't know. And then Beena, you and I would need our own stuff. Maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, but not Cornelian. But Cornelian, not like you. Comelius, not Cornelius. So
Comedians.
I'm not sure what you mean there, Norma. Maybe you could elaborate. I think Ursula would find ingredients. Yes, absolutely. Ursula would be very comfortable in making herself at home. Like, okay, Ursula. You know what? I don't feel like cooking right now. If you want food, you're on your own. And while you're about it, you can make something for us too, if you like. All right, Ursula would be game. Yeah. But generally it's communal, right? Because you're always sharing. You like doing things together, right? It depends though, but in general, yes. I mean, equally, absolutely. There's no part of this, part of Nobelia and part of unhooking from the superiority paradigm is to unhook from comparisons, right? And divisions. Yes, this is what the superiority paradigm is all about. Hierarchy, boxing you, saying you there, you belong here, you belong there. It's all limiting definitions, comparisons. That's what hierarchy is. It's constant comparison, right? Higher, lower, and all this. So no, there's none of that. It's like you are what you are. It's totally irrelevant. It's like thinking of this. Think of it in the context of trees. When you go and walk in the forest, do you compare the trees and say, oh, this one is higher than that one's better than this one? No, they're just trees. You enjoy all the trees, right? That's it. There's no better or worse. There's no comparing of trees. It's a foolish thing to go and compare trees, right? I mean, sometimes we do when we see an exceptional tree, yes. But in general, to compare trees is a foolish endeavor. And this is how the new nobility see people, sentient beings, right? They may say people meaning not human, but people is a sentient being, right? Hermumt is an alien and the community, both aliens. Now, we don't know. Aki might be also, we had said specifically, but those two are clearly identified as things. Or Nora might be an alien. We don't know. Any of them could be. Further or more, there's no indication whatsoever of skin color, genetic heritage. I mean, for all we know, they could all be purple out in the future. right? But what they would be actually in actuality, if you think about it, because they come from the ships, and the ships were these communities put together from, well, sometimes they were a bit more specific, but generally from most of the ships had people from every part of the world. And of course, if you're going to take a few thousand people and start a fresh, right, with no extra genetic input, whatever's on that ship, Asian, African, European, American, whatever, right, Indian, the whole lot, right, and you start mixing that all together, you're going to get, after a few generations, you're not really going to have any sort of a separation. You're going to be a mixture. You could probably Google it and see what would an average human being genetically look like. And that's what most in the egg would look like, right? Yes, you may have a few exceptions from these isolated community planets that had a ship, like in Comelius's case, right? There was a ship that was, well, they weren't from a specific geographic place, but later on in the story it comes, there's a French planet, for instance. All right, France is pretty diverse, but they call themselves New France, the planet, right? And there's a few other communities that had that do maintain somewhat of a genetic thing. But as they join the egg, that's going to go away fairly soon, right? Just the nature of things. So they don't have the separation, and you'll never see one single reference in this to something like skin color or a racial heritage. It's just not relevant. Yes. So you can imagine, you can imagine Biella looking or being from any racial background you wish. It makes no difference, right? I tried to pick a name that was, yes, I am writing for a more, at least at the time, I'm writing in a Western vibe. And so you have to have a paradigm. But I did try and find names that would be somewhat okay all over the world, yes, they're English. English is the language, and that was important in that when you signed up to be part of the Seeders, to go out into this new galaxy. That was the only language from then on that would be used, right? Now the Frenchies, they went back and reverted on their planet, but all right, doesn't matter, right? They're not meant to. It's not the idea, and of course some other planets also reverted, but in general, it's all English. So and therefore the names are going to be generally Englishy sounding names too. Like a Keys, obviously, is a very Japanesey name, right? But still, we don't know what their heritage is. We have no clue. And it's irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. All right. Problems. Also, what questions would you have for Biella in the same circumstances? All right. So now you there, let's assume as you've been added onto the delegation, you were just plucked out of your existence right now by alien technology and transported across time and space, and there you in amongst the delegates, and you're like, what's going on here? I don't know, but all right, I'll run with it and see, right? What questions would you have for Biella if you were there now on the planet in that delegation group? Sure. What questions would you have? Hey, CJ. Do you have a question?
I don't have any right off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
They would be the typical ones.
Yeah.
But see, I'm not sure what timeline are you asking me from? As though I'm on Nobilia, or like questions?
Yeah.
now?
Well, like I said, if you were transported and you woke up and hey, I'm on a new planet, and like, okay, but there's, by implication, you're included in these delegates, and you find yourself there, and you've sort of got a hazy memory, but well, I'm supposed to be here, but I'm not quite sure what's going on. And you just kind of run with it, right? Like in a dream, right? You're there, but you don't sort of think that it's a dream, but you just accept the reality as the reality. So you've been transported in time, and now you're part of the delegates, and you're not really clear what's going on yet, like in a dream, but all right, you just sort of run with it. And now Biella brings up this thing with, like, you're just walking along with her and Ursula and Comelius. And she starts saying, okay, you're going to be an aspirant, and this is it. You get the housing and all this. Do you have any other questions that you might ask just as a curiosity point? Like, oh, well, do the aspirants, like Norma said, with gender, she asked us questions. Just any kind of a question that may come up in you. Yeah. Beena, how about you? Any questions for Biella?
Not right now. The only thing
You guys
I'll,
are very
yes,
accepting. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's not
not
accepting.
accepting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, it's not accepting. It's more of a, like I said earlier, I'm having a hard time making that separation between myself in this focused moment
Ah,
now to all of a sudden
gotcha.
transporting to someplace else where you've
Gotcha.
already laid out all the questions that I would have had. Like, where am I gonna
Hmm.
No.
stay? How am I gonna eat? What's my medical care? You pretty much, you gave all the answers
Yeah,
already.
I got you.
So,
All right. All right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
very
really,
good.
there wasn't any other
Yeah.
questions to
Yeah.
cover
Yeah.
other than
Yeah.
how do we, I don't know, do we walk everywhere? Because really, I wouldn't be keen on walking 20 or 30
Yeah.
miles to
Now
get to the
that's a
next
great
place,
question. That's a great question.
you know?
And I'm not going to answer that one because in the story coming in the next chapter, that is actually answered. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they
I mean,
exercise?
yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very much. Very much. Yeah. Yeah. Exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an outdoor community. So yes, there is a lot of walking, but there is also transport because you need to get from, you can't walk everywhere on the planet, of course,
Right.
right? So there is transport, but you don't see it. There are no cars.
Yeah.
There are no roads. It's paths, walkways. But
Okay.
the transport, as you're going to see later, it's all underground, right?
Okay. Now here's one other question. Where are the
Yeah.
children?
They're on their own planet.
Hey, that's crap.
Yeah. Well, think about it. This is a big question.
No,
This came up with Biella. Because keep in mind, how did you come to be on Nobelia in the first place?
you were an adult. You were transported there.
No,
But
no,
that's
no. I don't
terrible.
mean this exceptional thing where I'm talking about us to imagine ourselves there. I mean the actual new nobles, the aspirants. They chose to be aspirants at some point in their lives, right?
Hmm.
And typically this is in your late teens because you want to be sure that this is now an actual real decision, right? So there is that, a cutoff point where you say, well, we have to and wait until you're this age, and then you basically when you acquire majority, that's when you can decide on your own accord that you want to come to Nobelia. Now, there are certain exceptions sometimes, like, with kids too, that get majority ahead of time, right? But then you have to apply for it. But you are Nobelia as an aspirant and later as a new noble because you chose to be there. That's why there are no children there, because the children don't choose to be there, right? And also because of the intent of why you are there. You're not there because it's a nice place to live. You are there because your life predilection is understanding, knowing, growing, application, learning, being more. You are into self-improvement to the nth degree, right? You can't take it anymore. This is what's important to you. So children become a very, very for almost every single new noble, it's not on their radar, it's not on their agenda. Yes, occasionally there will be children, but it's more like by accident than by design, because it's not your focus. So those that do come by accident or even sometimes by design, they are rare and exceptional. But think of if there were children there, to raise children and to raise children from the new nobility perspective, this is a monumental task because of the understanding that you don't want to impose a particular culture.
Hmm.
They want freedom for everybody, right? But now with a child, this is very difficult. How do you share complete freedom of choice? In other words, can you raise a child to not want to be a new noble if that's not what they want to be? By implication, if they're raised on Nobelia, it's just assumed and integrated that this is the thing to be, and you are removing some choice. So on Nobelita, which is the planet for new nobility children, and there is a story about it, that on Nobelita, there is now you are getting all the options. Yes, you learn things, of course, like language and, basic skills, of math skills, the stuff that you need in life, and physical skills of how to move and act, and how to use your body, stuff like this, right? And then of course behavioral, attitudinal, mood management skills that apply regardless of the life path you take. That's what they teach. But nobility and the pursuit of nobility and moreness, this is an individual decision that is not part of the schooling. Yes, that's your own choice. If you wish to go that way, sure. But if not, if you want to get into business, sports, whatever, that's your choice, right? So they really make an effort to not separate out that. And that's why they're not children on nobilia, because of this forcing of choice. It's a tricky thing. But again, too, very few children relatively. I mean, yes, Nobelita has a substantial population because it's, there's lots of new nobles out there. But still very small relatively, very small, very small. It's an exception because it's, again, children that's just not part of their path. Yeah. Does that make sense, Sher? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can accept it. It just does
Yeah.
it make sense to me? I don't know.
Yeah.
I suppose I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, think of it. If you, like me, right, or maybe Beena now, my entire life, my focus, my path, everything, what I'm consumed with in my life, what I do with my life is learning and growing and exploring and expanding, etc. Right? This is what my life is all about. There's never been space in my life for children. Never had any desire for children because it would take me away from that. Yes. And so it's just not part of my thinking. And that's typically, where you're looking to get at. If you were now like Ursula, right? And Ursula is still where she could have children, right? I mean, she's still possible for her to have children. And she doesn't have any. It just never come up because she was focused on her goal, which was to achieve the highest accomplishment, the most that she could, right? She had that intent that's similar to the new nobles, but just didn't know they didn't know there were any other options for its expression. But considering where Ursula is now, and you asked her right at this moment, right at the beginning of this, that might be a question for Biella, that let's say Comelius might ask on Ursula's behalf, saying, if Ursula wants to have children, what then? I suspect Ursula would say, that's just, not even entering my mind. It's not a thought. I have what I want, what really fulfills me. Children, not an option. Yeah. I suspect that's what she would say. Yeah. But yeah, for some, it's a deep genetic need for children, but that's kind of a criteria. Is your urge to satisfy the genetic need for yourself, or you're going to say, well, I might not get where the genetics wants me to go, and I'm going to pass it on, right? The genetic need for evolution. That's the reason we pass it on is because it's going to evolve. Otherwise, it's sort of pointless to just pass it on mindlessly, right? So, or am I going to do the evolving on my own, or am I going to pass it on? And when you come to Nobilia, you definitely said, I want to be the one to be the beneficiary of everything that went before me. I'm going to see if I can get to the end of this evolutionary chain, whatever that may be, or as close to the end as I possibly can. Somebody has to, at some point in the overall infinity of time, yes?
This is also a choice. And yes, I understand that. That was the same question I asked also, Sher, in the past, like, okay, maybe 2 years ago, I was saying, okay, what about this? And Syl says the same thing. Personally, well, for me, it is going to be my choice first. For me, there is no question about that. No one can dictate anything to me that, okay, this is how things should be, or even the nobilia, if they restrict me for anything, this is going to be a different concept for me. So I don't expect that, okay, there is going to be any kind of impose ideas from nobilia. I
Correct.
personally feel that it's a big opportunity. Yes, challenging like any other opportunity, Yes,
Mhm.
this is how we are going to finally change this world for me. If you are you are going to just stop this chain, whatever you have learned is not passing on, how this change is going to be implemented and the
But it
world is
is
going to
being
change.
passed on.
Yes, I know that. I know. So there
Right,
is no
right,
need to actually end this for me, my perspective.
right.
There
The
is no need.
culture
Finally,
itself is an evolutionary culture. Yeah,
humanity finds something which is much closer to ideal, then why not actually human species thrive there? For me, it is like, duh. Okay,
Mhm.
yes. It is going to be challenging, definitely, because whatever you are practicing, it is right now challenging to catch your every gesture, every thought, every action, every intent. That is it impeccable or not? It is challenging. Yes, okay,
yeah,
yes, I want to be
yeah,
impeccable. I want to, at least I can try to be. So
yeah,
yes, it is challenging. And this is going to be the same thing for the children also.
yeah,
Mhm.
Personally, I'm just saying for myself, I don't think so that anything is going to be restricted for me to make my choices about this. I don't
right,
think so. For
right.
me,
It's
this is
not. It's not.
actually the ideal
Yeah,
environment
yeah,
to give someone some other life this
yeah,
opportunity to be there. So for me, I
yeah.
think that I feel more convinced for this idea.
But think of it,
That's my
Beena. Right,
yes.
right. If you have a child on Nobelia, or like Ursula, what if Ursula had a child, right? And she says,
Mhm.
well, I said, yes, but I have a child, can I now bring my child? All right, now
True.
look at what happens with a child. And if you introduce a child into that community, that becomes an imposition on everybody. Because interacting with children is very different to interacting with adults. Yeah, because children are
Yes.
susceptible to influence and need to
Yes, if
be
I can
susceptible to
communicate with
influence.
aliens, if I can communicate with aliens, if I can communicate with any sentient being, why not with children?
Yes, but here's the difference though. When I'm being forced
Mhm.
to interact with a 2-year-old, and this is not what my desire in life is. I want to learn and grow and stretch, and
But
now I
not
have to
forced
do.
to.
If that
Who is
child is
going
in
to
the
force?
community, if that child is in the community, I am forced to, yes, because
No,
it's part of the
no,
community. If you're out
no, it
there
is your
interacting,
choice.
well, then if you have that child, then you're going to have to absent yourself from interacting in the community until your child is grown. And that,
No,
Mm.
what do you mean,
no.
no?
Interesting.
Well,
It
being
can
that,
be a bit limited. It can be limited, yes, a bit limited,
yeah.
but not necessarily. Who spend 24 hours with their child all the time? No, they
No,
don't.
no, no. You misunderstanding what I mean. It's not you spending
Right.
time, but if you go out, what does your child do when you go out and we're hanging out on the lawn in the group in the community? What happens to your child?
Like every other aspect of life is taken care by, so the child also.
Who
Yes, why
who
not?
who's going to take care of your child when
Anybody
you
can
go?
do this.
What's that?
And anybody can do this, and also that
Hang on, but
automations.
yeah, but who would do it? That's my point. On Nobelia, who is going to actually, like, literally, if you were there and you had this child, and now you want to go and hang out
Yeah.
in the garden and the discussion and everything, right?
Like when actually Nobilia was starting, there was a clarity that okay, they are going to be people who might not be well educated, they might not be very skilled, they might not be okay and prominent people in the life, but just normal people with good intent, even without education. But still, they want to be productive. They can take care of good character people.
Mhm.
A lot of there, they can be part of it.
But I don't want to be doing this as an aspirant and a new noble. My life is dedicated to learning and growing, not wanting to do things like look after other
Not
people's
everyone
children.
else. Not everyone else. This is your choice. Yes.
This is the intent of Nobelia. I'm trying to say this is the people who are there have that intent. Those who don't have that, then don't be a new noble, don't be an aspirant. This is what it's about.
But
It's about
okay,
an
the
Okay.
visitors.
exclusive focus.
Well, tell me
Visitors.
Yes.
about the visitors.
Sorry?
Yeah, because, well, the tourists, so I've heard
Yeah.
you mention that there's tourists and visitors. What do
Yeah,
they
same
do when they
thing.
go there?
No children.
Why are they there?
Oh, why are the visitors there? The
Why do
tourists, you mean?
visitors and tourists come? What do they come for?
Yeah, just for the curiosity to see what Nobility is all about. Just like you go to any planet, like any tourist would do, see
Then
different
it can
places,
be
see the world.
a vocational kind of thing for me. Like I can go and I can come back. I don't want to give up my choices. No.
It's not about giving
See,
up on choices. It's about making the choice that is the most important choice for you and acting on that
Why
choice.
the only choice? They both are important for me.
How do you
They both
reconcile the two? Norma says, can we have a copy of the application form? That would be interesting. I haven't
they
made one,
both
but that would
equally
be interesting.
important for me. Sorry, say it again, Syl, you were breaking
Ah,
for me.
no, I was just reading Norma's question there, but Norma has an earlier question that's interesting. Where would you go out on Nobilia? It's not part of the thinking that, oh, I'm in a life and I have to go out. Everywhere is out. Your intent is
That's really
learning and
interesting.
growth, not entertainment. That's
That's
your
really interesting.
entertainment, learning and growth. Right, so out is not an issue. Yes, there are, the new nobility will put on performances and whatever the usual things are, but they're
Like
doing it because this is an
like
opportunity
film
for them to
art, theater,
practice.
music,
What's that?
like film art, theater,
Yeah,
music.
but now it's not
Yes.
there for the purposes of entertainment. You can go and participate and watch because it's interesting to you and you learn from it. But again, entertainment is not the focus. Those doing it are doing it because they are practicing. They are practicing being different. Like for instance, acting is a very big part of Nobilia culture because it's an opportunity to practice being different, extending yourself, expanding yourself. Right. So it's a very powerful mechanism. And practicing humor and like stand-up comedy or ad-libbing, what do they call it, a special word for it, not ad-libbing, like in the moment, spontaneous, it's a particular word for it. I forget now. Anyway, they practice things like this because they are looking to get into their moreness.
impromptu.
Impromptu, yes, exactly. This is very powerful. Yes, you can, Norma, you can learn with toddlers around, but I've experienced this, that it does take a lot of your time and energy and attention, and how you
Thank you.
interact with the children. Say again?
I was going to say thank you. That I think
Yeah.
that's what spurred my question, is because it's been my experience recently that I've been noticing by and large, a lot of people assume there's this general overall assumption made that everybody is like them, that they're single, that
Wow.
especially, I mean, in my age range, it's like that they're single, that you've got free time on your hands, that, everybody else is like each other.
No,
So
they're
I
not.
think that's probably what, kind of prompted that question, because it's like, well, how does this fit into somebody's world? When you asked me that question, what questions would I have? Well, where's the kids? Because my life is completely different than anybody else that I know at my age. So,
Exactly.
the moms that I know, they're in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's different. It's different. So
Yes.
it's like,
Exactly.
how would you handle that?
Exactly. It is very different. And it's about the intent of why you are there. Of course, you can learn with children around, but it's a very
Yes,
different
you
thing
can.
that you're doing. And it takes a lot of time and energy and attention, which you could be using in other ways. And that if learning is your primary focus, that you would prefer to be doing, right? Children, and it's also
So
the other issue with
it will
children.
become like a monastery or an ashram.
Well, not really, Beena, because it's not that there's a prohibition against it. That's what I'm making the point here, right? Well, I mean, the children, if you want to have children, you're free to have children and just have them elsewhere. Because
No
it's
dogs
a,
allowed.
yeah. No, I mean, but there's more to this, right? And I haven't gotten to this part yet. And the more is that children are about responsibility.
But wait, isn't taking care of yourself and learning about responsibility as well?
Precisely, it is. And it's a responsibility that those on Nobelia, it's their most profound responsibility. They take this utterly seriously. They are taking it so seriously that they are taking this themselves and taking care of themselves and the responsibility towards themselves. They take this to the maximum. However, when I am making decisions for myself, I am free to do so. But when I make decisions for somebody else, this is a very different situation. Yes? Very different. So to take responsibility for someone else is a very difficult thing. Now, mostly, if you look at parenting and those making decisions on behalf of others, they just make them, and it just is what it is. There's not particularly a great amount of thought or awareness or involvement in this, right? Whatever the
is.
decision is.
Yeah, there is. It takes a lot of thought. Yeah.
Right. But no. What I mean is, sure. And on the whole, in general, if you look at the average parent of humanity, they just make decisions because they're not in the. They don't have the time, the energy, or they're not in the habit of thinking things through to the end and perspective shifting to multiple perspectives. And the reason that this isn't so when it comes to children is because you probably wouldn't get very far in your child rearing, because the questions that come up, especially the ethical considerations, they're massive, they're huge. You wouldn't really get much done if you were to consider each responsible choice that you're making when it comes to the child, right? I mean, in that type of depth, it would bog you down. You'd have a heck of a time interacting. It would be very difficult. But the main problem is, no matter what you came up with in the end, you're faced with this dilemma of deciding for somebody else.
But wait, can I interject there?
Please. That's why we
All
are.
right. Deciding for somebody else.
Mm.
Then how is it? Okay. I get the sense in the story that Biella is a form of a leader, is a type of leader. Maybe that's not a
Yes,
word you would like,
inadvertently
but
so. Yes.
okay. But I get that general overall impression. And she has others that she's educating. Now, who decides what they're going to learn?
Precisely.
Who decides what they're going to learn? These are adults. I'm assuming these are all adults that you're talking about. Who decides what they're going to learn?
They themselves. Only
When
them. On Nobelia, there's no curriculum, there's no classrooms, there's no laid out. It's always
Okay.
about awareness, moreness, expansion, development of awareness, understanding, application, doing, and making it innate. What exactly doesn't matter.
then
It's everything, and you
then
yourself
it becomes very
decide,
easy.
because it's always about pertinence and relevance, right? You learn what you need to learn. Right. So if you got a question or something on your heart that you don't understand, you go out there and okay, you listen in the group. Well, they're not talking about this. You find another one, or you just approach somebody and start your own group and say, I really want to know more about this. So you set your own curriculum and your own agenda. But this is the problem with children. Who's going to decide for the children? Of course, the parent is, but if it's a communal and you're part of that community, and plus individually, that the new nobility say, I have a hard time deciding for everybody else because I have a hard enough time deciding for myself what is appropriate and right. How am I going to make that decision for somebody else?
Oh, I mean,
Difficult.
I would take it as assisting, not as decision making. Okay, I'm assisting someone who is going to be able to make their own decision. What I'm doing to is just assist them to learn how to make decisions appropriate for themselves. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it is all about
That's
it.
the
Don't forget.
ideal. That's the ideal. But we are influenced as
Yes.
children, whether we want to or not. The system is designed that way because you have to be influenced in order to get going. So it's a
Mm,
tricky decision. It's a very, very tricky decision.
Tricky anymore for me. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Y- You see, it just
I
gets
personally feel
complicated
that
is when you start to
it
think
will
it
be
through.
easy and it will be good.
Say again, sorry, Beena. I was saying we spoke at the same time. Say again, please. Sorry.
No, it was breaking for me also.
Hmm.
No, for me, it is actually, but now it is much easier. It is getting more easier because once you decide that, okay, you are not going to make decision for them. You are going to assist them as you are them till they become able to make their own decision. That's it.
mhm.
All right. Think of when we have these lives and children get involved. It changes the whole life.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't just continue as I always am because, well, again, depending on the age of the child and the awareness of the child, they could maybe just sit and observe. But if you're going to expect a child to essentially just be observing all of their lives until they get to, mid-teen somewhere, right, where they really are in a position to truly think for themselves, where the brain has finished developing and growing and all that, right? This is a big ask of a child. So therefore,
Well,
if it, say again, Syl?
that brains, people don't finish fully developing until they're about 26 to 28 is when they
Exactly,
reach their
exactly,
peak.
exactly, right? But at least from about the mid to late teens, it's that major changes are not quite as radical. But yes,
If
I don't
this
know.
is going to be the thought, the Nobilia thing will die like in 100 or maximum 150 years. That's
why,
it.
Yeah.
why would it die? I don't understand.
Like all the people who have been learning and they have learned and they practice and now they are not having. So it is like going to end.
No, not at all. I don't understand why you think they have to have children to perpetuate the society.
Well, how else are you going to populate it?
Think it through.
Like from other planets, new nobles will come and then of course they will just keep continue like this.
It's not
This is
about
Yeah.
new nobles. It's about aspirants.
yes, aspirants will come from other
Okay.
Right.
planets and then they will.
So you've got
So
the
it is
society that
like an
exists.
ashram.
Right. I mean, this is exactly how the population of Nobilia is continuing to sustain itself through new aspirants. As children grow up, they see, well, I can go into business, into sports, I can be a fan, I can do whatever, right? I have all these choices. One of the choices is to be a new noble, because it's part of your community, or it's part of your, you see it in literature, in movies, whatever, right? It's like in our culture, you've got all the different choices you can do when you grow up. One of them is to go to a monastery if you want to, right?
That's
I
what
mean,
this
that's not,
reminds me of.
what's that?
I said it's
Uh,
starting to kind of remind me of it,
Well,
though.
a
Like
little
that
bit,
it's,
although there's a massive difference, right? Massive difference. But yes, that's the closest equivalent to it. Except, monasteries are, they're looking very much to be more closed and isolated, which, that's why they're visitors, because they don't want to be closed and isolated. And most of the new nobility don't live on Nobilia. It's like a monastery, but most of the monks don't live in the monastery, right? Or the nuns don't live
right.
in the nunnery. Right? So it's different. So my point is, as kids grow up, a certain percentage say, I want to be a new noble. And that's just because a certain percentage of people, this is their predilection in life. Same as a certain percentage say, I want to be, professional sportsman. I want to be a musician. I want to be an artist, whatever. Whatever life path you choose, this comes from your own predilections. Now, some might say, I want to be everything. I don't want to choose a specific path. There's that percentage too. But for those to whom learning and growing is a need rather than a want, those are the ones that end up on Nobilia. Yeah, it's a need. It's a deep
Okay.
need. And it's a small percentage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's less
Okay.
than It's less than 1% of the population. Well, it's a very small, tiny percentage. Yeah. I think it's like 0.4, 0.3%, something like that. You can go do the math from those numbers there earlier. So a very small percentage, but that is part of how things work. And that's how the culture sustains itself. Yeah, as old new nobles die, well, aspirants come and they go up. It's an ongoing thing. So you don't need children to populate this. Right. And that would sort of go against the logic a little bit, in the sense that if you start training people specifically, you're now passing on specific things rather than them evolving. But yeah, it could still be done, but man, it'll be a big hassle and it would take you out of your focus. Your focus is, I'm in this to solve the riddle of life for me. I'm where this whole process of life is ending. Think of it through in an eternal situation. Where does this end? I'm doing this for my kids. My kids do it for their kids. Their kids do it for their kids. And everyone's doing it for the kids. Who benefits? Who benefits from the sacrifice?
I don't follow that question.
All right. So most parents will say, I'm doing this for my kids, whatever they're doing. That they're
Are
doing it
getting
for the
benefit
kids.
right now. Like the parents and the kids. Like, do we have to have something separate to get benefit out of it? No, it is like, for me, they are doing it for themselves also. So if
Mhm.
I'm learning, if I'm growing, I'm doing it for myself. If it is going
Yeah.
to pass on, good, it's a double value.
Why have kids?
Well, if you want to populate Nobilia, somebody's going to have kids.
No, that's just what I was saying earlier.
Wow,
No, that doesn't make sense, Syl.
But
Okay,
Sher, hang on. Let me
No,
repeat
no,
what I said then.
please. All right.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. If you are, if you're saying you don't need kids to, continue Nobilia,
Right.
where are the aspirants going to come from? They don't just start out as adults.
You don't need kids made on Nobilia. They come from kids in
Okay.
the ag.
Okay.
Right.
There you go.
Well, I was saying specifically that they come from outside of Nobilia to Nobilia. I'm not saying that
Right,
no
okay.
kids applies to the ag. No kids applies on Nobilia, or at least it's not even a rule. It just happens to be that way because they don't have the predilection to
Right.
do it. No. So I wasn't saying no kids in the entire community. No, just for the new nobility.
But what I was also asking is that, and I think Beena was too, I didn't understand your statement prior to that about, who benefits.
All right.
Well, there's
Okay.
some things you do for children and there's other things that you just demonstrate, you model for them, but they have to do themselves.
Exactly. Also, because to make something exclusive, again, it's of course it is not, but it seems like that, okay, it is a kind of like superiority thing. Okay, yeah, here you cannot go, here you cannot die. So this is something because we have been experiencing all these things in this world. So we don't want these type of restrictions, and we don't want to have these type of exceptions also.
Right.
Right.
But you are saying, all right, let's say we start Nobilia. Right. We now are in a situation in this world, and we're going to create a Nobilia community in this world, right? Let's say we're going to make our own community somewhere, right? And this is like a university, right? Let's just call it the university, Nobilia University, right? But this is a university where everybody lives on campus, right? And it's not only a university, it's also a community where part of the learning, or not part, but the major part of the learning is interacting with each other, right? So, we don't have classrooms. So the whole learning is about interaction, is through interaction. Yes? Why do we want to do this? Because we love learning and growing. It's a need. We want to know more. We want to grow more. We want to practice. We want to apply. Every single fiber of our being is focused on this. It is what drives us. Yes, it is our need, this need for learning and growing. It's where our joy comes from, our delight comes from. It's what we absolutely love doing. There's nothing that is even remotely close to this, right? If we get to, what do you want to do? That's it, learning and growing. This is my first choice always. No matter what I do, I'm always learning and growing, right? So if we set up this community, how are you going to now say, if you have to have, well, people want to bring kids. Yeah, well, that's going to really interfere majorly with this desire for us to learn and grow through interaction and community. Because when you're interacting and learning with kids, it's a different kind. Yes, you learn stuff still, but it's not quite the same type of learning. Yes, and you're forced to limit yourself to a large extent when interacting, especially with younger kids, right? As they get a bit older, all right, it's not so bad. But still, there are considerations that have to be made. You see what I'm saying? When you set it up from the scratch, then it becomes a little more different when you consider the intent of the community. Yeah.
And as you said that no matter what I do, I'm just learning and growing. This is the idea for
Right.
me. No matter
Right.
what I do, I'm learning and growing.
So in that situation, though, why would you want to have kids if your
This is
desire
my
is learning
choice.
and growth?
There is no why into this. This is my choice. I might do, I might not do. This is just my choice. And I'm just
Some of
talking
us
about
didn't have a choice.
probability and the possibility that, okay, it has to be open for me. I don't want any exclusiveness. I don't want any superiority there, that this cannot be here. This
Why
cannot
is
be
it
there. This
superiority
is,
if it's something that's not?
this is what I'm saying, that, okay, because it might not be, but it seems like the way it has been projected, that, okay, yes, you cannot have this here. Okay.
That's very interesting, Beena, that you think that this idea, this understanding of children is superiority. How can it be possibly in the context of Nobilia? Can't be.
I don't know.
I'm just
It
saying
kind of
that,
feels.
that it is my, sorry, Sher. Sorry,
Oh,
Sher.
no, go
please continue.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, my internet is breaking, so I'm just talking over everyone. So please.
I understand where she's coming from because it feels separated to me. That's why, like I say, that's one of those reasons I asked the question. It's just because it does feel separated, and that's based on my own experience, which is what I thought that, we were supposed to be doing, is applying, putting ourselves in a sense into the story to extract value from it.
Yes.
So I asked, about well, where's the children?
Yeah.
I learn and grow on a daily basis by racing CJ. And I did the same thing with my own children. I did not have children by choice. So it wasn't like, something I desired to do.
Right.
It was part of whatever universal plan. So you make the best of it. And, you're asking, well, what are you going to do with the kids? Well, there's always somebody, once you step over that threshold, and in that last community you were talking about, say somebody says, well, can we bring our kids? Well, yeah, okay. You plan and you have somebody there that's going to help with, so that.
Right. But on Nobilia, who would that somebody be?
I don't know. It doesn't have to be any of the characters that you've already written in. I mean, if this is supposed to be thinking out of the box and using our imagination, I would assume that, it would be, I don't know, some kind of nurse that comes from some other planet and, takes care of, maybe they've got a whole planet of nothing but, nurse aliens. I don't know.
Like, yes, like my food, it can come from different planets. So why not? Why not be help for that?
Yeah. So this is just
Keep
me
going.
exploring and thinking out of the box, like you were saying to do.
Yeah.
So.
All right. No, I love this because now we're going to see if we take this all the way. Now take it all the way to the end, right?
All right.
Now you've introduced a population addition to the new nobles and the aspirants on Nobilia. A population, not
right,
not visitors. Right? I mean, the tourists are very few, right? I mean,
okay.
percentage-wise, they might be like, I don't know, when I grew up in that little town in the middle of nowhere, when somebody came to the town who wasn't from the town, this was an event, right? It might be once a month, somebody new came or whatever.
Okay.
All right, it's probably more than that, but nonetheless, my point is it's so few that they can have no possible influence on the culture.
Okay.
When you have a resident population, even though it may be small in number, right? When they resident, they start to have an influence that you can't, because you can't ignore them. Yes. So now you are changing Nobelia's culture by the addition of this culture. Yeah, because those nurses aren't new nobles, they something else. And you have to make allowance for that. You have to take this into cognizance, and you're going to be relating. I can't go and speak to the nurse and relate and chat and converse the way I would to a new noble, because they don't have an interest in what I'm saying. This is not their life. This is not their things.
Okay.
And look at Norma. She asked, well, where do they go out? Well, now you have to have things for them. See, now you change the fundamental nature of Nobelia culture when you introduce this extra population, because it's not just
Okay.
nurses, it's other things. See, it becomes complicated.
Yeah.
I love this. I love
Just
this.
one more thing. Just one more thing.
Hmm?
Because first thing, I was not expecting that Nobelia culture is going to influence. First thing, that was not for me. Second
How do you
thing,
mean?
that
Hang on. How do you mean? Sorry, I'm going to be a bit more clear. Influence who?
because influenced by anyone, that was my idea, that they are not those people anymore. When once they actually qualify to enter Nobelia, they are not those people who are going to influence by things like that. First thing,
Right.
and the second
I'm still
thing
not
is
clear. I'm still not clear. Who's not going to be
by,
influenced? The new nobles or the like the nurses or the caretakers?
no, the new nobles.
They won't be influenced by foreign people being on. No, but the culture of Nobelia will be different in its entirety,
If they are not going to be influenced, how the culture is going to be?
because you have to make an accommodation for those people in the culture.
Second thing,
Wait.
first thing, this is not a big issue for. And second thing, that who actually is assuming that every new noble or aspirant is going to make this choice to have children?
Nobody.
It is not
Nobody.
compulsory. It is
Correct.
just
Correct.
having an option that if you want, you can. It has
Yes.
to be organically a choice that, okay, yes, because now at
Right.
this stage of my life, I don't want something. Okay, yes, makes sense.
Right. So you have that
Why?
choice. That's what I said earlier.
Again, but you are saying that, okay, not on Nobelia, that this is where the point is.
You have the choice to have the children. That's totally your choice. It's keeping the children with you on Nobelia. That's a separate
This is what
issue.
I'm saying.
Right. But because keeping the children with you on Nobelia affects everyone else on Nobelia.
Most likely, I will not be there.
Yeah.
But you see, Beena,
Sorry.
but hang
Yes.
on. Try and come.
I understand your
Right.
point.
Right.
Yes.
So see, I'm saying come at it not from your own personal predilection point of view, but come at it from the intent of those who wanted to be on Nobelia in the first place, and the intent of the
Exactly, I
society.
understand.
It is an intent of the society to be as totally focused on learning and growth as they
Yes.
possibly can
I
be.
understand.
Right.
I
So
understand
if you
this
bring a
point.
child, right, first of all, now you say, well, who's looking after your child when we're hanging out? Well, I brought my nanny along. Yeah, but now you're introducing a whole population, or potentially if everybody did this, right? You're introducing others that are living there. I can't ignore those people. I have to interact with them. I have to greet them. So they become a part of the culture. And now it's a distraction from where the focus is, right? So now you are imposing on me by having your child. Or if you drag the child around with you, I have to again take the child into cognizance. Is what I'm saying child appropriate?
Okay. So now
See?
okay.
Difficult.
If it
Becomes
is
complicated.
if it is complicated, then of course I will not give up my choices for anything. So this is
Right.
not going to be same.
Right.
I cannot be in any ashram or any monastery or anything.
Oh.
Same. I
Right.
will not be there too.
Right. Now, though, the question is that both you and Sher really need to ask is, or and Norma too, is what exactly goes on Nobelita.
I don't know. You haven't written about that.
Right, but by implication, right? I'm just saying, if you want to have children, fine, there's a place for this. Exactly what you and Sher are saying, this is what Nobelita is. It is a
Yeah,
planet where new
it's
nobles are who have children. And there's Nobilia, but with children, the same thing. So it's not that the choice is removed, right? It's just there's space made for it elsewhere. So that Nobilia stays true to its original intent. And those who want to have children, well, fine, go and be on Nobilia,
yeah,
and there you can do the same things as you were looking to do on Nobilia, except that you now know that children are a part of it. And if you want to be an aspirant, and part of being an aspirant says, well, is children something that, well, yeah, I can't be an aspirant without children. All right, off to Nobelita with you then. See? And therefore, that, like you and Sher, you say, no, but I don't want to give up this whole thing with children, even if I don't have children myself. I want to have children around or whatever, maybe. Okay, go and pursue this desire, this culture, the noble ideal, in other words, on Nobelita. So Nobelita is exactly what you guys are saying you would want with children, right? Nobilia with children, Nobelita.
I just find it more inclusive.
More words again, sir?
I just find it more inclusive.
Right. So therefore, you would be on Nobilia. For me, I would be on. You'd be on Nobelita. I'd be on Nobilia because I find children and interacting with them, it taxes my responsibility up to kazoo. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and that's something. That's just it's something unfortunate that I'm experiencing in real time. There's a lot of people who tend to forget who ask of my time, and they tend to forget that I've got another big responsibility here to take care of. That
exactly.
I don't see him as taxing.
Right. Well, no. I don't mean it taxing in the sense of that it's a negative. Yeah.
I understand, But what I'm saying is that I have run into that more and more frequently. People, when they contact me and they come at me and they're asking me to do this, that, and the other thing and get involved in this program and that one and the other, they don't have kids. They don't have kids. And there's this, I don't know, whatever grand assumption that I'm just going to be there and, there's.
Why?
So
now look at what you've just said and the difference between Nobilia and Nobelita. Yes. Nobilia. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that in the sense that in this one particular aspect, on Nobilia, everybody's focus and time and energy is always available for the learning and growth. Because they don't have other responsibilities which take them out of it. Right?
You'd have to take a break from it at some point, wouldn't you?
No, because it's a joy and a delight and it's a refreshing thing. So it's always there because it's like taking a break from breathing.
Okay, well, I respect that you love it that much.
No. Well, I mean, that's what Nobilia is.
My brain needs a break every now and then.
Right.
And
but here's the point, though.
2:30.
Right. So I'm saying that when you look to be an aspirant, this is very clear that this is for those to whom this is a need rather than a desire or something they do part-time. This is what your entire life revolves around. So if this is not so much, again, see, there's Nobelita, and there may be other planets which are more, kind of various degrees of this. Yeah, as appropriate, because that's the culture. But the core of it is Nobilia, and then Nobelita. That's where it's like 100% maximized all the way to the end.
Yeah,
and it's for those to whom this is so crucial, right? And they are saying we are exceptions. We know this, and they will tell you Nobilia is not for everyone. Absolutely not. And that is not a good or a bad. It's we are all different. I mean, they're the sports planets. There's general ag. It's like you can do whatever it is that you want. This is an environment where we are doing what we want. And it's just that we are maximizing what we want. Now, the reason they have the tourists also is because they don't want to be closed. Right. So they don't allow lots of tourists. Well, it's sort of self-correcting. They chose a planet specifically that was far out on the edge of things, right? There's other reasons they chose Nobilia, but I mean, there's billions of planets, suns and stuff in the galaxy, right? So you get real choice. But Nobilia is an exceptional planet in many, many instances, right? And it doesn't only have one sun, for instance. Right, which is why its weather is so fantastic. But they chose it specifically to be far out so that, yeah, you want to come, fine. There's no restriction on how many can come, but just naturally few are going to come because it's out of the way. And they knew this, right? But it's that openness, because the moment you close, now you start having, complications. But beside which, most of the new nobles don't even live on Nobilia. It's just, that's just where the core is, and everything comes from there. It's where the aspirants come, because it's this Nobilia isn't the home of the new nobility. It is the school. We forget that, it was made earlier, right?
No, I didn't forget it. It's
right. So now when you think of you and your children,
adults.
right. But still, though, you asked about on Nobilia, and I said, well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that you as a new noble can't have children. You can, be an aspirant, become a new noble, then go and have children and live out in the ag with your children, which happens sometimes. Yeah, not often. It's not common, but it happens.
Yeah, interesting.
Right? So again, just because on Nobilia doesn't mean that you can't be a new noble and have a child. You can. Just leave your kid elsewhere. Don't bring your kid to Nobilia, right? Yeah.
I said, interesting idea.
Yeah.
So,
again, it's for while you're an aspirant. Now, you don't know how long you're going to be an aspirant, right? Because once you, this again, you might be an aspirant and not actually become a new noble all your life. You have no idea, it's no guarantee. So you have to be prepared to actually give that up, whether it's an actuality or not. In reality, who knows? There is no average time, really. Some people, they go quickly, and others take a long time. But nonetheless, it's still something to be considered, right? That you can't sort of bank on it, as it were, in other words, which is part of the underlying logic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have to go because it is after 2:30. So
oh wow, the time went quickly.
I have I have
Sure.
spent an excessive time today, so I
love
really
it.
do
I
need
love
to
it.
go.
But in my mind, I didn't watch the clock. To me, I feel like we've been going like an half an hour, at most 20 minutes.
No, I do need to
I
go.
love it. It's the emotion. Yes, we all have to go. We all have to go. Beena has to go sleep and everything. This is too fantastic. I love this. And I want to continue on this tomorrow, because by going into these different details, we get into the nuance of the story. Yes, the story is about an exceptional thing and not necessarily something that's for everybody. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I do need to go.
Okay.
All right.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye, sure. Love you. We're all gonna go. Unless you had some closing comment.
Yes. Okay. Again, we are going into a real depth, not only about this of this story, but also we are actually connecting the context of the story, and of course everybody is trying to understand that if they can have a place there or not. Like me, I don't want to give up my choices, and also I don't want to, because this ideal life is also my choice. I don't want to give any of my choice.
Right.
And this is what the real idea is.
Right.
So of course, as Syl was describing, and by questioning, again, this is a very interesting point, because you guys can see, whoever is going to watch this later on recording or live, to understand that asking a question is not questioning your integrity or your understanding. No.
Exactly.
Asking a question to understand. And this is what we were practicing here, because mostly we assume that when someone is asking a question, they are questioning us.
Right.
Which is a completely different thing.
No, not at all.
Not doing that. We were not doing that.
No. I'm asking for purposes of exploration. Right.
Yes, to understand, to be better with whatever we are doing. So this is the intent behind that. It's not questioning, it is asking a question.
It's exploring.
Yes.
Right.
And questions are love notes from the universe. We need to always remember this. When we have questions, it's a blessing.
It's huge. It's huge. And also, you know, we do want to be cautious and careful of assumptions. That
Yes.
in this reading here, that I don't assume or take for granted that you or Sher want to be new nobles. Not at all. We're reading a story and discussing, right? But we have to be careful of saying, because we're reading the story and because we like the story, that we're supposed to want to be new nobles. No,
Yes.
no.
Not necessarily.
No, I mean, I read a book about a secret agent, assassin. It doesn't mean I want to be an assassin, correct? Or I read this book about a monastery. It's very fascinating, but do I want to be it? No. And same thing here. But just because we're sharing it in such detail and there is so much moreness to it, it sort of has a bit of a stronger implication that we should desire to be this. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all, right, Beena?
Yes.
I mean, I want to emphasize that. That's a very big point. That this
Exactly.
is the point. It's a sharing an alternative paradigm. Just because it's an alternative doesn't make it a should. Very important to understand, right? Like in the case for you and Sher. This is, well, kids are important to you and you want to be in kids. You want to be in that, like Sher says, for it's inclusive. Yeah. Yeah, personally, I feel that if you and Sher were to be on Nobelia for a while, and then say, well, do you want to go to Nobelia? And I think you would say, and then you go to Nobelita, and you hang out in the society with the kids and the growth. I think you're coming back to Nobelia. It is part of, there are certain things that are kind of mandated, yes, but they're not mentioned. They're very subtle. They are there. One of them is that, well, the way the system works, in that how you get approved as a new noble, you have to mix with lots of nobles, right? Otherwise, not ever going to happen. Now, you're not forced to, it's just not going to happen. But one thing that you are required to do is go and spend some time on Nobelita, in the same way as you are required. This is corporate that says this, because you're an employee, right? And you're a prospective employee when you sign up as an aspirant, right? It's part of the agreement. But as an employee, there are things you are expected to do and required to do. Like, for instance, when you get called up to work, whatever the job is, you say, okay, it's your turn to be in the admin office. It's your turn to do sewage maintenance. Whatever it is, that's it. You get to do it. Now, you can trade those duties, but you only get a certain amount of trades, because the idea of doing all these things is to not have a culture that's dependent, right? That you don't end up with a bureaucracy, a subclass, or a skilled artisan subclass, right? That everybody gets this diversity of education, experience, opportunity, etc., right? But you can trade your things if you really now have to or need to. Not too many, but you can. You
Yes.
can swap them out. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Syl.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Oh, pleasure.
we will see you
What a
guys.
joy. And thank you, Sher. It was so marvelous discussing with Sher. It was such a delight. It was such a delight. It was very cool. It was very cool. And it's interesting how we come at things from such radically different perspectives. Is that not too marvelous?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the practicality. When you think it through to the end on Nobelia, it's a practical issue in the end with children. It's practical. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right. All right. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. All right. And meeting for all.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Bye for now.